Hey meow, everybody. What's up? It is Tuesday, and guess what? Kamala has chosen. She has chosen the vice president candidate. Bum,
Yep.
bum. A man named
Kamala, 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 chameleon.
Tim Walz. I don't know if you know this, Adam, but the walls are closing in on Trump,
Build the
figuratively
walls.
and
Build the
literally.
walls.
Yes, he's Kamala's building a walls. We have Tim Walz here. So this is a very interesting choice. It's interesting because you can see how people like what's almost more important than the policy is the perception of the candidate and the perception of the policy, right? Because that's
Oh
what people are
yeah.
voting for. People are voting for the perception, not for
I'm voting.
reality.
No, I'm voting based on policy. Okay. That's all I care about.
Well, okay, obviously you and all our amazing viewers that have all the amazing free will that we grant to them by listening to our stream, they vote for
Right.
like real policy, okay? But most people,
Substance. Yeah.
right. But most people, there's like a perception of reality that sort of controls everything. And so it's very interesting to see what the reaction to Tim Walz's being chosen is. Because at first, there was a leak a few days ago that it looked like Kamala was going to choose Josh Shapiro,
Yeah. That's what everyone was saying.
governor of Pennsylvania, seemed to
Yep.
be like a pretty moderate Democrat. We'd heard a couple of speeches that he did. Seemed like a good speaker, right? Seemed like an
He
intelligent guy.
did. He did. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
she took my advice. Remember, I was saying how he sounded a lot more articulate than her and that it was going to make her look like a dum dum?
Well, I think that, I hate to say it, but I think that definitely plays into it. I think that 100% plays into it. Because if we look at vice presidential picks, when has a president ever picked a VP that's
Yeah,
like
more
more articulate
charismatic. Yeah.
and more charismatic than they are? And I can't
Never.
yeah, never happens. Never happens. They always pick someone who's kind of like bland or boring or weird or maybe stupid. There's always something. You never want to have them be like better than you. So I
Right.
think that definitely was a factor with this Tim Walz pick. Christian Baller for $5 says Walz looks like David Huddleston from The Big Lebowski. It's hilarious. That was my
He
first thought.
does.
That was
He
my first
does.
exact thought. He looks so much like David Huddleston, yeah, in The Big Lebowski. That was the character who was trying to send the dude off on his quest to
Yeah.
get the thing from the ex-wife or the wife or whatever.
Hey man, I'm the other Lebowski. I'm the
Yeah.
dude.
I just want my rug back. These
He
guys took my rug.
he's the real Lebowski, right?
He's the
That's
real
who
Lebowski.
yeah.
Yes. Yes. So the perception, so everyone was kind of like, okay, it looks like they're going to pick Shapiro. A lot of the like more progressive left and the further left are upset about this because he's like perceived as a moderate. This is Shapiro, and we're talking about Shapiro is perceived as a moderate.
Well, and he's
People,
Jewish. Everyone was
he's
getting super
well,
chapped about that.
yeah, the Jewish thing was interesting too because he's Jewish, and even though supposedly his position and Wall's position on Israel is very similar, Shapiro's getting like extra scrutiny because he's Jewish,
But
and
it
also
plays into the
because
vibe thing, exactly like you
yeah,
were
it's like really a
saying. Yeah.
vibe. And there was like this claim that he served in the IDF, which is not true. He did like he like went to Israel in high school and he did some sort of like community service work or something, and somehow that got turned into he served in the IDF, which is not the case. Because I mean, I would not want a president or vice presidential candidate who served in any foreign country's military. Like that's insane. I think that's crazy, right?
Right.
Even if they're an ally. But so that
Yes.
didn't happen. But anyway, so he's getting like all this kind of scrutiny. And I actually wonder if that leak, the Shapiro leak, was an intentional leak just to see how people would react to him,
Right.
like a test, maybe.
Smart. Yeah.
Which would be shockingly smart for the Kamala campaign if that was the case. I
Well,
don't know.
look, we don't know. We haven't seen her. Like maybe she's a genius.
I'm
Such as
skeptical.
skeptical.
I'm skeptical.
Look, if you're
But
a
I'm
genius, you do what Obama does, right? You run to the cameras every opportunity you get.
well, that's only if you're good at speaking. If you're a
Right.
genius but you suck at speaking, you hide from the cameras.
Interesting argument.
I mean, do you disagree? How's that? That's definitely true.
I guess there can be geniuses that are not good at speaking.
Of
I mean, that
course.
can be. It seems like the overwhelming majority of people who are intelligent would be good at speaking, though.
Well, okay, here's second theory. Even if Kamala is bad at speaking and is stupid, she could have someone intelligent like running her campaign
Right. Who
who's
did the
like,
leak thing?
right, who did the leak thing and said, like, listen, you need to like hide in a basement. Okay.
Right.
So so
How
Shapiro,
that conversation go? The
exactly.
the I got to tell my boss she's stupid. That's always a fun one, right?
Listen, Kamala, like we've been doing some polling and it looks like people
You're an
really
idiot.
like you, except when you open your mouth. Then they stop liking you. So the goal for the campaign is for you to keep your mouth closed and for us to flood social media with coconut memes. All
Right.
right.
Yes. We're gonna have the TikTokers campaign for you, babe.
I don't know if you, oh my God, there's like all these super cringe TikToks
Oh
of
yeah.
like the
Oh
kids
yeah.
doing like a coconut dance. And it's just, oh my God, it's so bad.
I
So bad.
know. Ugh.
So, so, so Shapiro's out. So she chooses Tim Walz. Now, this is very interesting to me because when this choice was announced, basically every person I saw who is on the progressive left or further left, even, the leftists and communists directly like Hassan and even the non-communists, who are just much more progressive left than most people are, they were all very, very happy with this pick, very celebratory about this Tim Walz pick, which is fascinating to me. So the progressives, the Bernie Bros, the socialists, they finally seem to at least got what they want here with this pick,
Right.
which I don't know because I was thinking like,
Scares you?
okay,
How do
well,
you feel about the pick?
before we even get into that, it's interesting to me. What is the point? What is the signal here? Right? We have a situation where both Trump and Kamala have chosen VP picks that will appeal to sort of like the more extreme internet elements of their base. Right? Neither of them chose a VP candidate to appeal to the moderates, which is fascinating. I don't know what that says about the current election cycle, if anything, if it's a
It's a
bad
base
thing,
election. That's
right?
exactly
It's
what it says.
it's a base election. Everyone's trying to get
Right.
out. And you know, even if I don't like Walls, and I'll be honest, I don't know like super a lot about him. I've been obviously researching him today since the choice, and we'll talk about some of that stuff. But even if I don't like Walls, I think this might be, I can't tell if this is a good idea or a bad idea. And I guess it really, because it's exactly what we were saying. What is more important to get the moderate, undecided swing voter who's maybe fickle and at the last minute will make a decision, or to just be like, we need to get as much as our base out as possible. And that means all like the internet weirdos on our side.
Yeah, it's hard to say, right? I mean, it's going to make election night pretty interesting. I always tend to side with, I just think the base elections favor conservatives because conservatives tend to vote regularly
Mm-hmm.
and liberals are kind of hit or miss, right? They're like, oh, I had a concert to go to that night, right? I was busy. I had a hot date. I got stoned with my friends. I forgot. Oh, today's election day. So, well, I mean, we'll see. They're trying to build a movement, right? They're trying to make voting the party that you're supposed to go to on election night.
Yeah. And I think you're right normally that the appeal to the base works better for the Republicans. I wonder though if because I like it's possible Kamala staff just horribly incompetent. I wouldn't put it past them. But it's also possible that they've done a lot of polling on this and they figure that a lot of the independents and swing voters will not like Trump, that they're going to hit the January 6th button a lot. They're going to hit the racism button a lot. They're going to hit the threat to democracy button a lot. And they feel like that message will be enough to get them out for Kamala. And so she's like, okay, most of the left, the extreme left and the Democrats, they don't like me. So I need to like choose something to get them coming out, especially after all the Israel Palestine stuff.
The thing that she might be inheriting here is the Obama infrastructure. Like the way Obama really changed elections was he focused on undecided voters and he focused on contacting them personally by campaign staff through
Mm-hmm.
social media. So you'd get like private messages on Facebook from somebody who was like an Obama supporter that would chat you up and kind of get you to say, oh yeah, I'm gonna vote, and they would even like message you on election. Oh, did you vote? Did you vote? That is a super intelligent way to get out the vote. And I don't know if Biden and his campaign used that infrastructure. I mean, you'd think he would, right? Because he was Obama's vice president, so he would
Right.
inherit that infrastructure. I mean, I don't know that Hillary used that infrastructure, but I mean, every does is Kamala. I mean, Obama endorsed Kamala. I'm tripping up because of the New York Times doesn't like Biden has
Biden.
a yeah,
Yeah.
and I've heard also that Obama doesn't like Biden as well, but I don't know if that dislike goes to Kamala as well. But there's this like vast get out the vote infrastructure that Obama basically pioneered,
Hmm.
and evidently the Democrats have been using that as well. I don't think Trump is really doing that kind of get out the vote infrastructure.
Right. He's been kind of just doing rallies,
Yeah,
speaking to streamers. There's like this really weird. He spoke at length to Aiden Ross, which is bizarre. Um,
yeah.
he has kind of, is it like a big insult that he only gave Tim Pool 20 minutes, but he gave Aiden Ross like over an hour? Isn't that kind of strange?
I don't know the dynamics there.
Hmm. Okay. But anyway, yeah, so I think you're right about that. And also
Well, this
it's
this is also why Biden could have won in 2020, even though it seemed as though Biden didn't do anything. Like obviously that election, everyone was saying Biden's hiding in his basement.
right.
But if you have an army of Biden simps basically contacting everyone on social media and chatting them up in their DMs, to me that's going to be a lot more effective than going out and holding a huge rally, right?
Hmm. Right.
Yeah, because you have that personal connection. You've made a commitment to someone that you feel is a friend. Like you've said, yes, I will vote for Biden on November in November. Like they chat you up on the day of the election and make sure that you voted. Like that's a good that's a good infrastructure for turning out the vote. So if they still have that in place, which why wouldn't they, right? It's probably
Right.
even more developed now.
Hmm.
Why wouldn't they tell Kamala, hide from the cameras, don't do any rallies, stay hidden as long as
Yeah.
possible, right? We'll make you look good in the memes and the DMs, and they're
It's a good
going
strategy.
to, yeah, and they would make it a base election as well too. They wouldn't they're not interested in moderates. They're like, we're not going to contact moderates. We're going to contact the people who, as soon as we DM them, they say, oh hell yeah, I'm voting for Kamala. Trump is a Nazi,
Mm.
right? They just got to get that person to show up and cast a ballot, right? So if
Right.
you're going for a moderate, you got to like have a long conversation convincing them, right? You're
Well,
talking about policy and shit.
you're right. You're right. In terms of just like energy and time spent,
Right.
yeah, it's probably
Hey,
easier
did
to
you see
do the
this
way you're
cool
talking about.
TikTok video? They're talking about coconuts.
Right.
Did you
Okay. Here's
vote
my
today?
here's my official prediction for
Mhm.
2028. You ready for this?
2028.
2028.
Going way
Okay.
far out.
We're going in the future here. 2028, one party or both parties will be involved in a big scandal when it turns out that they have a mass army of AI chatbots that are messaging
Oh,
people
yes.
and trying to pretend to be real people to get them to vote for the Democrat Republican candidate. And it turns out that they're all just chatbots.
You read my mind because
Yep.
I was thinking, I wonder how much of that infrastructure involves AI now, because that's just devastating. That's
Most of it.
devastating.
Yeah.
You can really know the outcome of the election just by making the AI bots chat with people and
Hmm.
getting them commitments. Like you're basically banking votes. There's this psychological thing where people don't want to admit to themselves that they're flaky. And once somebody makes a commitment, like a written commitment to
Hmm.
somebody, you're 1,000 times more likely to keep it.
Right.
You should keep track of this in your daily life. Try not to make written commitments to people because it does affect your psychology. It really does. So Yeah, if they're just banking those votes, and people are easy to contact now via private messages and
Right.
whatnot. I guess that the people that aren't on social, there are plenty. Are there really though? I mean, it seems like all my family, they're not on Twitter, but they all have Facebook accounts. Oh my
All
God,
the
they're trying to
boomers are
get,
on Facebook. Yeah.
yeah, they're trying to get me on Facebook all the time so that they can
Mm.
chat me up. I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah, I feel like walking into Facebook, it's like a surreal experience. You're like, it's like walking into the retirement home. You're like, oh, there's like a whole
Yeah.
community here that I'm just not even part of.
So if you can if you can contact 90% of the electorate via social media and use this chat bot strategy,
Hmm.
Sitch, how how crazy devastating is that to electoral politics? Like it does, they're basically playing on different fields now. If Trump is out there going, I'm doing these huge rallies and generating lots of interest, it's like, yeah, people are going to your rallies because you're a huge television celebrity. They all remember you from The Apprentice.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean they're going to show up and vote.
Right.
And behind the scenes, Kamala is hiding in her basement and contacting millions of people on social media
Hmm.
with their AI friend. Oh my God. This election could be devastating.
Hmm. Stanley Six for $20. Thank you. Says I live in the suburbs of Minneapolis and went to Uptown on Sunday. Lake Street has become a tent town, but the left will eat it up like Newsom, right? I always say it incorrectly. He's ruined our state in favor of political favors. It's interesting too, because there's a lot of people were saying like, the Shapiro choice, Pennsylvania is like a swing state, and he's a very popular governor. I believe he's like at 60% favorability in the state. So if Kamala picks him, it'd be a good, not a guarantee, but definitely, increase her odds of winning the swing state of Pennsylvania. And Minnesota is not, and it's presumed that it will go Democrat. So from a strategic perspective, from that angle, people are criticizing this and saying it seems like a mistake.
Right.
Um,
That they should have picked the Shapiro.
yeah, the swing state guy, as opposed to this. So,
Pennsylvania, I pay attention a lot to the polls in Pennsylvania
mhm.
because common conception is that if whoever wins Pennsylvania is going to win the election, that
It's funny. It used
is
to be
like,
Ohio. Now it's become Pennsylvania.
yeah, yeah. So I always look at the polls. It could be just a meme that is just in the mainstream media's heads, so they
Hmm.
say it constantly. But I know, I mean, I'm like, okay, I'll look at Pennsylvania. Is is Pennsylvania relevant? I guess so.
Hmm.
So
Brian for $10 says Kamala not choosing Shapiro to lock up Pennsylvania really keeps the race a coin flip. I'm sure she wanted to, but the fact the left is so anti-Semitic, they had to choose Waltz, and it's hilarious.
so
I mean, I don't think that was the sole factor. I think that was definitely played into it. I think she didn't want to get outshined by Shapiro. Um, I think she does, as we were saying, I think she does want this to be a turn out the base as much as possible vote. And the Democrats are afraid because of the Israel stuff that they're just hemorrhaging the progressives and the more extreme leftists and all that stuff. And so this is kind of like the offering to like, look, vote for us, please, please vote for us. Even though it's kind of ironic because he's not really, well, not ironic, but just kind of silly because he's not like an anti-Israel to my understanding. And Shapiro kind of went out for the past couple of days and he did an apology tour for Israel, and I guess it wasn't good enough. So these perceptions run deep. Um,
I did a
so
poll, but I messed up. I'm gonna
okay.
redo it now. So
So I was looking at some of the stuff that like I was trying to look at some of the things that Waltz has kind of been known for. So here's one of the things I do like. He signed a bill to provide free school meals to both breakfast and lunch for students. So how do you feel about that? It's like a good thing, right?
he did what? He signed a bill for school lunches
Breakfast and lunch.
for free breakfast and lunch.
Yeah, for kids. Like when they go to
Sure.
public school. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
like that.
I mean, feed the kids, right?
Yep.
What are
he
they feeding
he.
him though? Is it a
Well, that's a
healthy
good
lunch, or
question.
are they
Of
feeding him
course not.
cookies
Of course not.
and candy?
It's all trash.
Yeah. Okay.
He's he was in favor of legal marijuana, so that's great, right? Big supporters here of that at Sitch and Adams show.
Oh, of course. Yeah. He should be
Free,
all drugs.
yeah,
He
free
should be in favor of
college.
ecstasy. That's
Well,
what
okay,
I'm. That's where I
let's keep
draw
it
the
to just
line. If you're
psilocybin.
cool.
How about that?
Why MDMA? MDMA.
That stuff's not good for
Oh
you. That
my
stuff's not
God.
good for your brain.
MDMA.
All right, that stuff's bad for your brain.
It's no. It's just you got to make it right, Sitch.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'll send you some instructions.
Oh yeah, free college for students whose families make under 80K if they go to a state school. So I'm in
Hmm.
favor of that. That's pretty good. Um, Now let me look at some of the cons. That's just like a handful
What
of
was the
things. Like
last one? Free
free
college.
college for students whose family make under 80K if they go to a state school.
Okay. Interesting.
Hmm.
Okay.
Some cons. He also passed a no term limit abortion bill in Minnesota, which I think is going to definitely come up a lot in the election. I think this might be one of the bigger issues that choosing Walz could be problematic for Harris, is because Harris really wants to push the abortion button on Trump. And now this gives Trump the ability to push back and say they want no time limit whatsoever abortions. They want day before birth abortions. And look, Tim Walz signed a bill that does so in Minnesota.
Yeah. Awful. Yeah.
I think that's going to definitely come up in the race.
Look, a lot of people have said that you can't vote for Trump because he's an insurrectionist,
Hmm.
and that just makes him morally inferior to everybody else. So, it's a moral infraction to vote for Trump. But look, a baby killer, you can vote for a baby killer, a literal baby killer.
Mm,
Get out of here.
mm.
Yeah, I think voting for in the hierarchy of badness, there's insurrectionist is below baby killer. It's I don't make the rules. I just live by the rules, okay?
Well, I mean, it depends on, first of all, it obviously depends on what side of the issues you're on, right?
Oh yeah,
If
look, I vote based on policy, okay?
No, but I'm saying, like, if you're more inclined to be Democrat or more inclined to be pro-choice, then the baby killer thing is going to hit you much less than the insurrection thing.
Is it?
Sure.
I mean, look,
Because
they're killing babies every day,
yeah,
okay?
but
Insurrections happen like once in a lifetime.
well, doesn't
Come
that
on.
makes the insurrection thing more powerful because
No, it
everyone's kind of grown.
doesn't.
Yeah, of course it does, because the baby killer accusation has been thrown at the Democrats for 40 years.
Right. Oh, you're saying it's not as potent because it's been used a lot?
Yeah, the people are used to it. They're like, oh, okay.
I mean, you got a point there. It is like a new accusation.
Because they'll say,
Not
like,
many people are called insurrectionists. So
exactly. Because they'll say, Trump will come out or Vance will come out and they'll say, Kamala wants abortions up till the moment of birth. And she'll say, no, I don't. And then most people will just say, oh, they'll just, believe her. Right. So,
right.
so he also signed a bill that would allow illegal immigrants to get driver's licenses. So this is kind of interesting. I was looking into this. Apparently, the way it works is that obviously, when you apply for a driver's license, it would ask if you were a citizen and you'd have to give a social security number. And they basically removed the requirement for a social security number and they made it illegal to ask your citizenship status. And you can actually use, and it was interesting because I was like, well, then wait a minute. How do you actually get, like, what documents do you use to get a driver's license? And they said, if you don't have a social security license, you can actually use a foreign passport or foreign birth certificate
To get
to
a
get a
driver's
driver's
license.
license. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Um,
some people, they're here for work or whatever, and they get driver's license. They're foreign
yeah, but
nationals.
that would be fine if they're here legally, right?
Right.
And you could have like a legal, you have like, if you're a legal immigrant, you have papers that say that you are a legal immigrant. And
Right.
and I think that would be fine to give to if you want a driver's license, that's fine that you should have to give that over. The idea that you can't ask for or that it doesn't say what your status is on your driver's license, to me, is kind of fucking insane. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, usually they use that driver's license is an ID for all
Everything.
kinds of things that,
Right.
yeah. So it is kind of interesting. I mean, I don't like the fact that people who are here illegally have to, I mean, a lot of them steal social security numbers and whatnot. It's a big hassle for the people who
Right.
are actually here. So I guess the thing to do is not let illegal aliens come into the country, and then you wouldn't have to deal with any of this problems. So
Right.
it's
Right.
like kind of, it's like kind of trying to bandage yourself up after you've shot yourself in the foot. Well, I'm like, why not just maybe not play with the gun?
Right. Yeah. So the argument in favor of it is that is like part of it is what you were saying. This, prevents people presumably from stealing social security numbers. It allows illegal immigrants to get insurance, car insurance. So if they hit somebody or they get in a car accident, like it would be beneficial to the
Yeah,
person that's in the car
exactly.
accident, right? It helps the economy presumably because it'd be easy for people to do jobs. So I understand like the arguments all in favor of it, but I'm still against it. It still doesn't make sense to me. I don't think illegal immigrants should be allowed to have driver's licenses in this country.
Yeah, you got to make it hard on them so they go home, right?
Yeah, it doesn't seem right to me. So there's like an intuition here. It seems violating. And it's now obviously it's kind of fascinating now because in Minnesota now, because of this, you can either get a driver's license or you can get a real ID driver's license. Most states you can only get the real ID one, but the real ID one requires, I believe, your social security. It requires that you're a citizen. So now you have this like it's like, oh, well, we're not going to ask if you're a citizen, but everyone's going to know if you're a citizen or not anyway, because all the normal citizens will have a real ID compliant driver's license and the non-citizens will not, right? So it's going to be kind of a silly
Yeah.
situation anyway.
They're forcing us to do that here in California. I don't know if it's everywhere, but you're supposed to do it in the next, I think the deadline is like a year away.
Yeah, like for the last, I believe, like 6, 7 years in Florida, if you go to renew your driver's license, they would automatically become real ID compliant. So you had to like, if you didn't have whatever information, you had to update it. So, then there's like this weird clip of him saying that one person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. Did you see this? This is a clip making the
No.
rounds here.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
Oof. How do we
I
watch
actually,
that?
yeah, we can watch that here. If you bring up the watch together. Do you have the time code for whatever this at 10? Okay, it's at 10:30 that you're at.
I put it in the chat, the time code.
Okay. Okay, so this was in, guess where he spoke? This was in the White Dudes for Harris call,
No
Zoom call.
way. Oh
Yes.
my, please
Yes.
make it stop, Sitch.
The White Dudes for Harris call. So we can watch his whole statement. It's only like 5 minutes.
That music's horrible though. That's going to get us copyright
It's
claims,
like
but
it's only like a second.
oh, whatever. Sounded like, oh, look at this.
You like the
This
man
looks like
bun?
a typical conservative, right?
Yeah, right, right.
If you've already given twice, you're more than welcome to smash it a third time. Our next guest has been all over the news, and folks everywhere have fallen in love with his story, record, and style, especially his awesome hats. We have Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who's presided over a historic progressive agenda in Minnesota, the highest ranking retired enlisted soldier ever to serve in Congress. He was also a coach and a teacher. Please join me in welcoming David Hogg's favorite politician, Governor Tim Walz.
Well, thanks, Ross. Thanks.
That's really weird. He said David Hogg's favorite politician. David Hogg is obviously
The
the
gun,
student
yeah.
who was at one of, I forget which one it was, one of the school shootings, and become a very big anti gun sort of advocate. And Tim Walz, until recently, was actually pretty highly rated by the NRA. And
Really?
so, yes, yeah, he actually had an A plus or an A rating until recently. But recently, that changed because they passed a some kind of extended background check and red flag law, which I don't really have a problem with any of that stuff. But so it's interesting that he throws in David Hogg. Like, I guess it's a signal to like the anti-gun people on the left. Like, listen, he's one of your guys now.
Right.
Thanks for having me on. The anti-Tommy Tuberville, I guess. So it's good to see you. Mitch Landrieu, good to see you. Any place you're at, I'm here. JB Pritzker and this whole group. Following Josh Gad, I am now complete, Josh. This was it.
I don't like his voice. I think he's terrible.
Wow. I don't have any problem with his voice. What's
Sounds
wrong
like
with
he
his
has laryngitis or something.
You think so?
Yeah, sounds
Hmm.
awful.
That doesn't bother
Maybe
me.
it's their Zoom call or something.
Sounds normal to me.
Yeah,
Okay.
this guy's a loser.
I'm going to echo that message of hope. My old
You don't hear that raspy? Yeah, here.
Some people just have that like little rasp vibration.
I'm running for vice president here. Yeah.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Come on.
You don't hear that? Sounds
I
like
think
he's got gravel in his throat.
I don't. I. It's a little bit of lower throat vibration. I think his voice is far less annoying than Kamala's. So I don't know.
Ugh. Oh, sounds like he's been gargling with
He's not
sand at
RFK talking about bear cubs that he
the.
ran
He is.
over with his
He
car.
is in the RFK universe.
No way! What?
Yes,
That's
he's
crazy.
He's definitely in the RFK universe.
RFK. No, okay. Wait, we're not those RFK after this. RFK is like 1,000 times worse sounding than this.
RFK is at the end of the spectrum.
Oh.
RFK is the worst of the worst of the worst. But this guy is pretty close. He's definitely past the line towards
I completely
unacceptable.
disagree with you. Okay.
oldest daughter's name is Hope. And that's because my wife and I spent
You don't hear that reverb?
I hear it. I hear it. I hear it. This doesn't bother me.
God. Okay.
7 years trying to get pregnant, needed fertility treatments, things like IVF, things that they would ban. And so once again, I keep talking about this idea. You're right. These guys are the anti-freedoms. I grew up in a small town, 400 people, 24 kids in the class, 12 cousins. And I hear JD Vance trying to talk about what a small town is. There's one golden rule in a small town. Those of you who are from a small town, mind your own damn business. We don't need it. I don't know who's asking.
That is not true. I've lived in a small town before and everybody knows your fucking business. That's the rule that gets broken all the time in the small town.
Maybe the Midwest is different now.
This is bullshit. That's look, mind your own business is the big city rule. Obviously. Obviously. Mind your own business. You don't know your neighbors. You don't know anything. Small town, you know your neighbors. You know what they're doing. You're not afraid to go over and say, hey, I got a gripe with you. Yeah.
Asking for this crazy stuff that they're pushing? Who's asking to ban birth control? Who's asking to raise the price of insulin? I'm a Legion Club member, and none of the dudes there are asking to cut veterans benefits like Project 2025 does. So look, that's not where folks are at. I represented a rural district. Donald Trump won it by 15 points in 2016 when I won. Those are folks that want a fair shot. We need to point out to this. The reason rural America hurts is because robber barons like these guys have come in there. These are the guys that take money out of our public schools for private schools to give vouchers to people who are already going to private school. They undermine the basic social safety net that makes this country great. So when I hear you on here, I heard Josh talking about hope. That is exactly right. That's what we need. And then coupled with that, because my wife reminds me of this, she said, hope is the most powerful word in the universe, but it's not a damn plan. We need a plan to win. And that's what you guys are doing. That's what smashing that button does. That's what's calling. And again, this is preaching to the choir, but the choir needs to sing. The choir needs to sing. This is our moment. This is not just transformational for one election. This is transformational for several generations. But here's the thing that I take responsibility for. We're not in this alone. The rest of the world needs us to be here. These guys throwing our NATO allies under the bus, the idea that they don't care what happens in the rest of the world, not addressing climate change that's going to impact communities that are less fortunate than anyone else. Those are the things it has to do. We have communities that are going to pay the price because we don't address it. Here's the great news. How often in 100 days do you get to change the trajectory of the world? How often in 100 days do you get to do something that's going to impact generations to come? And how often in the world do you make that bastard wake up afterwards and know that a black woman kicked his ass and sent him on the road? And you know that's something that guy's going to have to live with for the rest of his life. So I got to tell all of you, please do what you can. Please talk. Look, I got Florida Man as a brother. We all got him in our families, but These are our neighbors and our relatives. And at heart, they're good people. They're not mean-spirited. They're not small. They're not petty like they hear on stage. They're angry. They're confused. They're frustrated. They feel like they got left behind sometimes, but we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. Just do the damn work. So I got to tell you, when I see this, it lifts me up. I'm inspired. I see it. Again, anti-Tommy Tuberville, this is the first day of football. We're all in this. We're all undefeated. We got an opportunity on this. I want to be standing in that day in November when we're playing for the big one, and I'll take us. And again, keep hammering on these guys. This idea of calling them out for who they are, shrink them. Is he a danger to society? Yes. Is he a danger to women's health? Yes. Is he a danger to world peace? Yes. But don't give him more credit than he needs. He's just a strange, weird dude, as we've been saying. Pick that in the pace, pick up the work, do the work, donate, call, talk to your neighbors. Let's win this thing. No regrets at the end of this. Thanks, folks.
So
he says donate, call, like that's their infrastructure right there.
Right. So yeah, another thing we forgot to say, Tim Walz here is the originator, or at least credit is the originator of the calling JD Vance and Trump weird line. So I wonder if that also had something to do with his choice. Because they're like, oh look, he's good at like branding. He hit them with the weird stick.
Mm-hmm.
So, from this speech, I think the speech is like fine. I guess it feels kind of generic-y, but competent for like a governor. What I expect kind of a governor to say. I like that he talked about not shitting on Republican voters and alienating Republican voters, and that I obviously don't like that weird line about don't shy away from progressive socialism is just someone else's neighborliness. I mean, I understand he's saying like, oh, we should just try to, suck up as many votes as possible, which is obviously what you do in the election. But it is weird to me that he would use the term socialism. You'd think he'd want to shy away from even saying those words in kind of the national stage here.
Yeah, look, we went to Kamala's website and saw nothing of substance. We've got substance-rich environment here finally, right? He's talking about school choice. He's talking about climate change. He's talking about middle class left behind. He's talking about socialism. He's talking about women's health. He's talking about identity politics.
Right. A black woman's going to kick Trump's ass.
Right. Exactly. It's very important that he gets that in there, that a black person beat up a white person. I don't know what he's doing for black stereotypes, but I mean, anyway. But yeah, look, that's a lot of substance there in a short amount of time. Wouldn't it be amazing if we got some kind of substance out of our actual presidential nominee, Sitch? Imagine nice. Such a thing.
It would be nice, yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, all that is for naught because it sounds like he's been gargling with sand.
I don't know. His voice doesn't bother me at all. I'm surprised it's so grating to you.
It's horrible. His old man voice. Ooh,
I mean, he is an old guy. Is this the Obama strategy? She's like, I'm a person of color. I need an old white guy to be my VP.
It is. The numbers that Biden did with old white people were great. So that's why they picked this guy. They're like, look, we officially stomped out the old white guy. A lot of our old white guy voters are going to be like, I'm not too old. Damn it. What are they doing? Biden was great.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point. Yeah, that's a great point.
Of course. Yeah.
That's a great point.
He's like, look, we took Biden out behind the woodshed and we killed him. But look, here's another guy who's just about as geriatric. Look, we love geriatric old men. We're in favor of them. This guy makes you as a geriatric old man look good. Doesn't he? He sounds horrible. Sounds like he's growing an ant farm in his throat, but hey.
He sounds fine. I don't know.
He's talking about the issues.
His voice is totally fine to me. I think you just hate old people. You're so ageist.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So this guy wants, so my takeaway is this guy wants to see your kids in failing schools. He wants them he wants them on medication because they're so terrified the climate is going to kill them that they're never going to want to buy a house. They're never going to want to have kids. They're never going to want to engage in the American system. Okay. He is literally in favor of race violence. He cares a little bit about the middle class enough to actually give it lip service. Whether or not he actually cares about the middle class is another thing based on all of these policies. Like he cares about the middle class, but he wants to drive climate alarmism to take gasoline up to $8 a gallon so the middle class can't afford to get to work. So those two policies seem to be in conflict here. Socialism is just another word for neighborliness. When your neighbor comes over and says, hey, I want to own your property. Maybe we should collectively own our properties together. That's what that's the kind of neighborliness socialism is, right? And women's health, I mean, look, I'm in favor of women's health too, but we're talking about baby killing. Baby killing. That's not women's health. That's against women. That's against babies' health. Half those babies are probably women, right, Sitch? How do those women feel? Anyway.
My internet got cut out, so I missed like the end part of what you're
Oh,
saying.
really? Look, I was on a roll.
I know. Listen, I heard you were definitely on a roll. I was impressed.
Anyway, those are his policies.
Well,
how did I do? I'm running.
Okay,
I'm running,
so,
guy.
Right. So first of all, I mean, that's all pretty good if you're working for the Trump campaign. I think the Trump campaign should hire you, Adam. That was a very good write up that you could very good like series of talking points that you could create for the Republican Party to sort of say in response to everything. I'm impressed.
Well, I know the arguments.
Right.
I'm not Destiny here. I actually know what the conservative arguments are.
Sure. But that's obviously like,
remember when Destiny said that conservatives don't care about policy?
Yes.
remember that?
I do remember that.
Did I not just rattle off all the conservative policies?
You did.
All the conservative policy responses.
You did good. But
right.
no,
if
I mean,
conservatives just picked up MMT, they'd be like, you'd have plenty of money to do those school vouchers. But
there you go.
Don't listen to me.
But no, I mean, like, you kind of did the most negative framing possible for everything that he said. So
of course, look, we run a comedy show here. Okay,
that's true. No, but he's kind of interesting choice too, because I think you're right about the old thing with Biden. It is kind of interesting because they're like portraying him as like two different ways. They're portraying him as a older Democrat moderate who was able to flip a conservative district in Pennsylvania, like in 2006. But then he's also, so like on one hand, he's like, oh, look, he's a moderate, he's a flipper. He can flip Republicans. But then the other side of the token, it's like, oh, but he's also like very progressive. So it's kind of weird. He's doing this kind of double duty action, I should say.
Where he's pretending to be a moderate, but really he's a far left radical.
Yeah, because it's like, even like the Washington Post kind of interesting. They say like Harris went for broad appeal over swing state appeal with this choice. And I just don't see this at all. This doesn't seem to me to be broad appeal. This seems to me to be very, as we were saying, like drawing from your base. It's the exact opposite of broad appeal.
Right. I mean, they're going to try to have their cake and eat it too, obviously. They do want independent voters.
Right. But they're going to try to frame it like, Kamala is the East Coast, elite from California. So now she's got a folksy rural guy from Pennsylvania to be the VP. Like that's sort of, I think, the way it's going to be framed. So.
Right.
Folksy. Yeah, folksy. You're going to hear that a lot. They're going to throw that at Tim Walz. They always say that about, kind of rurally people. They're like, oh, they're folksy. They're folksy people. So.
I can't. It just seems so factually incorrect that, well, I guess to some extent, small towns are about not telling your neighbors what to do, but not knowing your neighbor's business. Oh my God.
Well, yeah, it means more like libertarian. I think it's an effective way to sort of frame the argument. Whether it's true or not is a different story.
Yeah, of course. Look, we're in the post-truth alternative facts reality now, right?
Right. They're also going to hype up. He pushed for a child tax credit in Minnesota. I believe it was $1,750 per child. So
right.
Usually those are pretty popular with people.
They tried to double the child tax credit and it died in the Senate. It just died a few days ago. So
This was
from
the federal tax credit.
yeah, from $1,000 to $2,000.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, they
But
should double. They should increase it. Why not?
yeah. Well, if they had custodial voting, it would have passed easily. But since they don't, it's like they're like, fuck the parents.
And I saw there was sort of this idea that Minnesota recently changed their state flag. And I only know about this because I watched CGP Grey, and like one of his, hobbies for years has always been to criticize all the bad state flags in the United States of America. And he actually, I think, if I recall correctly, he rated Minnesota's the worst flag in the country, the original design as the worst
Good.
flag in the entire country. And so they redesigned it, and he was very happy with the redesign. Though I think
Okay.
the eventual redesign was, I believe, is actually different than whatever he was looking at. Slightly different. Yeah, it's a little different. But some people were claiming that this flag was some kind of like flag that was supposed to appeal to Somalians.
Oh, really?
And they were sort of
Ooh.
bringing up how there's like some Somalian districts or something that have similar like shapes or colors on the flag, but that does not appear to be the case. I think that is fake news. The shape of the flag is the shape of the state. That's why it has this like K shape in the flag, and the colors are supposed to be like, because it's got the North Star, because it's the most, it has
Why
like the
don't I bring
most.
the flag up so we can actually look at it?
Yeah, why
What
don't you bring
flag
it
is
up?
it? Minnesota?
It's Minnesota. Here, I'll send it to you.
I got it.
Okay.
You keep talking. Minnesota flag.
Right. It's supposed to have the little star is supposed to be for the North Star because it's the most north
Oh,
state.
I
Because there's like a
hate this
little,
flag.
there's a little, I don't know if it's the most, well, obviously Alaska is obviously, but from continental or whatever, there's like a weird thing where like a little chunk of the state goes into Canada. I don't
This
know
flag
why,
is
but
ridiculous.
I don't like it personally. I think it's ugly. And then the colors are supposed to be
But
originally the original.
which one is the new one and which one is the old one? Because two different flags are coming
Okay.
up.
Well, there's three. The old one is the one that's like light blue with a big seal in the middle.
Okay, that's the old one?
That's the old one.
Okay, well that one sucks.
That
So
one sucks.
they went from having a shitty flag to having another shitty flag.
Okay. Then there was going to be the new one was supposed to be, there's the one they have currently, it's like the K shape with the star and the light blue.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the one
Looks
before
like a
that,
UN flag.
right. And then the one before that, it was that, but it had three colors on the light blue side. It had three stripes, a white, a green, and a
Okay.
blue.
Got
And
them all.
it was supposed to be like the northern sky, snow white, the land is green, and the Mississippi River is blue.
All right.
Or the rivers and lakes are blue. And
All
then I don't know
coming
why
in.
they got rid of the stripes and now they just have the light blue. Anyway, my only point was I don't like the flag. I think it's ugly, but my only point was I don't think it's fair to say whatsoever that this is some kind of like weird Somalia flag dog whistle thing. So
Okay. You don't think it's true?
no, I don't think it's true. I think they just had the shape of the state, and they originally had the three colors represent the three layers, which is a pretty common thing that you see in flag design. Like the three layers represent, sky, water, land. And then for whatever reason, they dropped that and they just had the one color. So
They have the UN flag basically.
mhm.
So that's the flag now, just a light blue,
Yeah, just the light
three
blue.
color flag.
Yep.
It's trash.
I don't like it, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than what they had, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. Looks like a big blue arrow pointing to a butthole.
That's kind of how I see it too. It does look
It's
like an
like-
arrow pointed to a butthole. Yeah.
Here, let me turn it this way so you guys can see it
Yeah, you can see
accurately.
it's like going right in there. Yeah.
Here, this flag is actually a guy with his legs spread here and his butthole right in the middle. You can see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There you
You
go.
can see. He's like diving into a pool nude.
There you go. Love it.
So now you know. Now every time you look at the flag of Minnesota, you'll know. You'll be like, there's a bunch of nudists in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of nude swimmers.
There you go.
Ugh, horrible.
Yeah, it's supposed
Remind
to
me
be
not to go to Minnesota.
okay.
Actually, I think
Wow.
Stephen Michael Davis lives in Minnesota.
There you go.
Friend
The
of the
North,
show, Stephen Michael Davis. What's up, Steve?
the North Star State. There it is.
Yeah.
Also, some other things, obviously Tim Walz is getting a lot of flack because Minnesota, that's where a lot of the BLM rioting occurred, obviously.
Yeah, because they don't put a stop to it. They're like, oh, please
Right.
come in and loot our businesses. Socialism is just neighborliness. Come in and steal from us.
hmm Yeah, so obviously
Neighbor, good neighbor.
that's going to be like a big hit from the right on Walz is going to be, and you're already seeing it, all the pictures of all the BLM violence and saying, why did he allow this in our state, et cetera, et cetera. So, and also that in the, apparently he was very strict on COVID lockdowns. So that's really hitting another thing here.
Is this guy from Minnesota or Wisconsin? I think
Minnesota.
Oh, he's from Minnesota. Okay. Maybe Stephen Michael Davis is from Wisconsin. Everyone's.
I don't know. Oh, maybe it's from, I don't know.
Anyway,
It's the same
let us
place,
continue.
right?
Look, if you're not from California, I'm just
Not from California, Florida. It's all the same state, right?
Florida. Where's that?
Yeah, exactly. Though a lot of
We
these,
are the coastal elites here. We should
So-
change the name of the show to Coastal
should.
Elites.
coast to coast elite edition. No, so like, but a lot of these attacks on him currently, at least we're seeing so far, I think they're effective for people that are on the right, obviously. I don't know if they're that effective for people on the left or moderates.
What are the
So-
attacks?
The BLM stuff, the COVID stuff, the socialism is another person's neighborliness stuff, driver's license
Right.
for illegals. Like these are all like red meat for the Republicans, which I guess is good in terms, but on one hand, it's good in terms of getting the base out. On the other hand, I would imagine the base is already like really energized to come out for Trump, which is why I think doing this move for Kamala, even if I don't like Tim Walz, I don't really have a strong opinion about him enough. I don't know enough about him yet, but even if I disagree with it, I think it could be a good possible choice for Kamala to try to get the base more roiled up on the left. I don't think Trump needed that. And I think the JD Vance was a mistake. I think he should have gone more moderate. And that would have been interesting if Trump had swung more moderate and Kamala swings more left, right? I think that would have played better with them, like kind of in the direction Trump wanted the election to go. But now we just have both of them kind of swinging to the base.
You have this perception of JD Vance as this super far right individual, and I think a lot of it is because of this particular detail about him liking Curtis Yarvin.
Mhm.
But I don't think that's the perception of him. He's in an
was.
interracial
Mhm.
marriage.
Right.
He's like everything he's saying seems completely normal. I don't think people perceive JD Vance as a far right pick.
Well, there's two elements. First of all, yeah, there's what there is, there's what's real, and then there's the perception, right?
Yeah.
So what's real is that he's described himself as post-liberal, right wing who likes Curtis Yarvin. So it puts him on the far right.
But
automatically.
are they talking about that on the news?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
But then we talk about the perception. They did a good job with the perception. The left did a good job with painting him as far right on the abortion stuff.
Right, because of his abortion ban.
Right, because he wants no exceptions for abortion whatsoever. And so that's going to be perceived in the left's mind and Americans' mind as like everything far right, kind of like he has to be far right. If he's that far right on abortion, he's got to be far right on everything else. I think that's how the vibe will be set for the public on Vance.
Right, but we're talking about two different things. We're talking about the left's view, where they think of anyone even moderate as far right, any moderate conservative they think of as far right, and then we're talking about moderates. How do the moderates perceive JD Vance?
Even I think the abortion stuff hits the moderates too. I think most moderates are in favor of
of
abortion
course,
to some extent.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the mistakes I think with Walz is that it kind of hurts Kamala's ability to hit the abortion button because Walz's state's too far in the other direction.
Yeah, both VP candidates are too far.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that kind of helps with the base in that they like they they don't have to adopt the far policy on abortion, but they still get to bring in people who just kind of dream of, okay, well, if that person was president, we'd get our crazy position on
I agree
abortion.
completely, but
Yeah.
my point is Trump doesn't need that at all. He needs the opposite
Right.
of that. He needs the moderate guy. Where
Well, no, he
Kamala
does need single issue abortion voters. He does need that.
he does, but I think Trump could get it with another VP who was, you know,
I'm not
anti-abortion
sure.
without there's a most Republicans that are anti-abortion are still in favor of the exceptions of rape, incest, and life of the mother.
Right.
That's not you could throw a rock in a Republican pond and you'll hit one of some Republican that's in favor of that.
Right. No, I agree. The vast number of people are in favor of sensible abortion laws.
Right.
But there are a bunch of crazy people who are like religious fanatics who are just like, they vote only based on abortion and they don't want exceptions because obviously
Yeah, but
it's a
those
religious
people
argument.
first of all, those people are going to vote for Trump regardless because
Or they might not vote. That's
no,
what I'm
I don't. I
saying.
disagree because Kamala's literally running on the fact that she wants to put in a law that allows or that forces some level of national abortion law.
Right.
That's what she's running on that. So they have
Okay,
no
yeah.
choice than to
I
vote for
guess,
Trump,
yeah,
who's
that's a
saying
good
like he's
point.
going to leave it to the states.
That's a great point. It is. Yeah. They're like, okay, we want this crazy abortion law, but she's going to push our hand on, she wants the opposite crazy abortion thing.
Right.
Abortion on demand.
Well, I think Trump is going to run on the state. Like I'm going to leave it to the states. I don't think he's going to run on any sort of national abortion law.
Right.
And then she's running on a national abortion law. So
We've close to 14. Well, no, we have over 1,400 live viewers right now, which is kind of crazy on a Tuesday. So,
well, thank you.
yeah.
Thanks everybody. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Got the VP slot.
Yeah. We
hidden in.
also at this poll. So I put up a poll. Have you been contacted via text or social media by election workers? I have been contacted many times, specifically by text and on social media. So, but the poll results are interesting. So I'm really only looking at Americans here because it's the American context where this is a new kind of electoral strategy. And it is like 50-50 split. It's 37% yes from the Americans and 37% no from the Americans, which is interesting because our nation is so split down the middle. Now I'm curious how many Republicans are getting contacted and how many liberals are getting contacted. Look, I voted for Obama, so I'm definitely on the Obama list. But I voted for Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's a Republican. So I'm on the Republican list too. I get hit on both sides. Sitch, have you been contacted?
I get like 5 texts every day.
Mm-hmm.
From some
look, it's getting
political
crazy
ad
now.
nonsense.
Yes.
Yeah, it's super annoying. I don't know how. I've never signed up to be on any of this stuff whatsoever. So it's just constant and I hate it. I just block all the numbers and they just keep coming.
Right. You should try texting back and see if you can sniff out an AI. I think I'm going to try that. See if I can get some back and forth because I have texted back and forth with these people. Not on, I mean, this might have been as long ago as when Obama was running, but there were people contacting me on Facebook. And I had read a book. I mean, this is obviously 2008, so it's an eternity ago. But I read this book, The Victory Lab, which is about elections and turning out the vote and stuff like that, which is a fascinating book. I highly recommend it if you're interested in this stuff. But it needs an update because there are all of these new processes through social media and through the internet that make, I'm sure, the stuff that he was doing in Victory Lab, like he was doing mailers and stuff like that and figuring out how you could get a percentage point better turnout in certain districts through mailers. But I'm sure social media makes all of that so much easier and less expensive. So I don't know that I don't know that Trump is doing any of this stuff. And the thing that I'm wondering now, since it is a 50-50 split here, yes and no, if it's just like the no people are the conservatives. We're like, no. But I guess we're getting, I mean, I am getting stuff from.
I get it from both sides.
Yeah, I do get it.
I get it from
Trump,
both. So
yeah.
I don't know. I have no clue why I'm on any of these lists, but
Right. So, and then oddly enough, 7% of you are in fact Canadian. So,
welcome Canadians.
Right.
They want some of our greatness. Okay, I get it.
I suspect that it's closer to 14% of you are Canadian because in the poll I put I am not American, which 18% of you answered I am not American, and 7% of you answered I'm Canadian. But if you're smart, you know you could answer either one of those. Like if you're an embarrassed Canadian, you might answer I am not American, right? So I suspect probably about 5% of our audience is embarrassed Canadians who did choose the
terrible.
I am not. They all listen to Dev. They're all Dev fans. Dev is Canadian, obviously. Did you see? Dev was talking about American politics and I shut him down. I was like, dude, you're Canadian. What the fuck?
I did not see that. Don't be nice to Dev. Listen, I actually saw Dev made a good video yesterday about the Alec Baldwin shooting.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I like Dev's videos, but I was like, man, this is election interference, what you're doing here, Dev. Okay.
Wow.
You worry about the Canadian elections. You let us Americans worry about the American elections. Sick of all you over there in Canada with your universal health care meddling in our elections. We need universal health care here. Stop meddling. All these people with universal health, they're like, universal health care sucks. I hope they never get it in America.
Be nice to Dev. Okay.
Look, it might be nice to have universal health care if you don't have any health care.
That's true. That's true. So I sent you 2 tweets they can bring up. This is very important information for the JD Vance vote. Okay, for the nerd vote for JD Vance.
Okay.
We have conflicting data here on whether the nerd vote should go to JD Vance or not.
Yeah, I keep listening to JD Vance's public speaking and
it's not great.
That far. Bad. Really? I have a completely different take, and I wonder if it's just I'm biased because JD Vance is in favor of custodial voting.
It's just that, yeah.
It might be. It might be. Look, I'm honest about it. It could be that. I'll admit it.
I'm not talking about when I say it's not great, I'm not talking about the policy. I just mean his energy. He has a weird energy. That's why that weird label is like very effective.
That I do sense a bit. I noticed you sent me the interview with his wife too. The wife thing, I don't know how he's literally in an interracial marriage, so I don't know how they're going to attack him as the white supremacist. I mean, that at least admit that's smart, right?
Yeah, no, that is smart. Well, yeah, no, it's smart. I agree. It's overall smart to throw his wife out there. His wife seems like a nice lady, so
they want to attack Republicans as in favor
racist.
Of,
yeah.
Well, no, things like the Great Replacement theory.
Yes.
As soon as you see his wife and kids, you're like, okay, well, obviously he's part of the Great Replacement. Right? He is a replacer.
That's awful.
But no, it completely undercuts that argument. Like they can't make that argument with this guy. Which I think I don't like playing the identity politics. I wish we'd just not do it. But
right.
If someone's going to play identity politics, you're kind of forced in a position where you have to be able to respond. And this is the perfect response.
That's true.
So who do you want first?
I'm not in favor of that. Look, my wife's an immigrant and she's brown.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. Okay, click the JD Vance one first.
Which where he's talking, the podcast one?
Yeah.
Okay, not his wife. I get you.
Right. We'll watch the wife one right after. So
this is 41 seconds.
40 seconds. Yeah.
Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
So, I'm like, oh no. So I call Trump and I'm like, hey, sir, what's going on? He's like, JD, you missed a very important phone call. and now I'm going to have to pick somebody else. And I like tense up and almost have a heart attack. And the crazy thing about it is my son, who's 7, is in the hotel room with me. And he's really into Pokemon cards right now. He's going through a Pokemon phase. Are you guys into Pokemon?
I was back in the day.
Okay,
Yeah,
That's a big phase right now, I think, in general.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's really into it. So he's trying to talk to me about Pikachu. And I'm on the phone with Donald Trump. And I'm like, son, shut the hell up for 30 seconds about Pikachu. This is the most important phone call of my life. Please just let me take this phone call. So,
Wow. Coming out against Pikachu. Can you believe it? Is that smart? You think that's a smart electoral strategy, coming against Pikachu?
I was wondering how because you're a Pokemon fan. So what is your take on this? I mean,
I think this is reprehensible. I think
just another nail in the coffin here.
Yeah, I think he should be jailed. I think he should be jailed. America loves Pikachu. The world loves Pikachu. How can you tell someone? How can you tell your own child, Adam, your own child, to shut the hell up about Pikachu when you're talking to the former president who's running and wants you to run as running mate, Adam? How dare you?
Yeah. I'm glad this clip is going around because it does show that Trump has an excellent sense of humor. Of course, he's going to rib him about, no, I got to pick someone else now.
That's true. That's true.
You missed my phone call. It's over.
The phone call. It's over. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. So people are upset about this. They're calling it child abuse.
They're just kind of, well, it's funny. I mean, I want to bring it up because I think it's funny because like the nerd vote. And then the other clip is kind of like a pro nerd take, which we'll watch in a second. It is kind of interesting to me, like the political instinct here. The political instinct about this story, I don't think if you were like a good politician would ever be to say that you told your child to shut the hell up, right? It'd be like, oh, you can make this a funny story. You're trying to accept the VP nomination and your child's like pushing Pikachu shit in your face, right? Like there's a story there. There's a way to say it funny. I don't think this is the way to do it.
I think it rings as authentic. All the parents know there's times when you got to tell your kid to shut the hell up. So
I understand it definitely brings it authentic because that's what he said. I'm assuming in the moment. Right. But I don't think it's great. Anyway, so that's the anti-nerd vote. But then we have Vance striking back. Okay, he got a lot of flack for that. He's like, I need to win the nerds back. So he sends his wife out to get him to win the nerd vote here.
Okay, the wife is coming in for the nerds.
Yes, yes.
Sweet. Here she is. 3, 2, 1, go.
I want him to explain what the dorky habits he had. Did she explain?
She hesitated. I said, what are the dorky interests that he has? And she hesitated and she said, he's going to kill me for saying this, but it's Magic the Gathering, which was a card game. And some of the guys know about it. It's similar to like Pokemon is so popular now.
I want him to explain.
So there you go.
Oh my God.
So
delivered.
There you go. So if Trump wins, will this be the first time in the history of America that Magic the Gathering may be played in the White House?
Wow.
So there you go. Look at that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, look, I think, obviously this is a huge win for the Trump campaign.
Yes.
I think the nerds definitely love that Magic the Gathering. So
we'll see, watch next week. There's going to be a clip of JD Vance setting up his Warhammer 40K little sets. You know, there's going to be like a video of him painting a Warhammer model. Like, I do this every week to
that
chill
could
out.
be cool.
Yeah.
Competing with AOC for what he does in his kitchen vote.
That would be kind of funny. You have AOC doing her cooking videos where she's complaining about the Republicans, and you have JD Vance in his garage painting a Warhammer figure and talking about politics. So
sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, this election's turning out to be pretty crazy. So it's probably good for us that Kamala picked Tim Walz, right? Because he's definitely going to be going down the super far progressive. He's going to be her voice as far as super progressive policy.
Yes.
Yeah.
We assume. Yeah. Yeah.
She's going to come out with a bunch of moderate policies. And he's going to say, "Oh yeah, but secretly here's what she really wants. Socialism."
Is the vote's tomorrow, isn't it?
The 7th, yeah.
Yeah. Tomorrow is the official vote where they will vote Kamala in. They will crown her as the nominee. So
Yeah. Crown her as the queen. The coup is officially over.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Sitch,
I know Adam says it's a trigger me.
Sitch doesn't like that term. Look,
No.
I understand why. I have heard like all over right-wing media, coup, 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 coup. I understand that they're just saying it because the left has said coup, coup, coup about January 6th for so long, and it's just an opportunity for them to pay in kind.
Right.
It doesn't meet the structure of a coup, though, obviously. I mean, she's not taking any political, she's taking the nomination.
Right.
I guess they'll make the argument that it was a coup if she actually wins, though, because she's like, they'll be Adam.
People still voted for
She
her.
did take power.
People have to vote for her in the election, though,
Right.
if they like her or not.
Yeah.
So this is an interview that she did in 2017. So it's a while ago, but she talks about like how it's good to be woke.
Right.
So I figured we watch a few minutes of this. It's kind of
Okay,
interesting.
cool.
Is I get your emails and they're pretty mad. I get Kamala Harris emails all the time and they're like, we got to win back the House. We got to win this back. And
Look at this. What I say about contacting people directly.
Yeah, I know.
It's like they're the voice in your head now. They are
constant,
for
yeah.
these partisans. They're like, look, we can bank the partisans. We don't know what the independents are going to do. We can put the people who've committed in a spreadsheet. We can know how many.
That's true. It's a good
Yeah.
point.
Clinton, the Secretary.
Yeah, well, we do when you have a House of Representatives that is trying to kill the Affordable Care Act, which is going to result in 23 million people losing health care, and when they're trying to get rid of Planned Parenthood for political and ideological reasons, when every day that Planned Parenthood stays in force, 8,100 people every day go there, and the vast majority of them are not there for abortion. In fact, only like but for family.
They're there for HRT, obviously. Not, yeah.
Terrible.
It's so weird, but they are. Planned Parenthood gives out HRT and stuff now.
Yeah, I know.
So weird. That's.
I don't know what the percentage of their. I don't think that's the majority of the services that they do, but it's a service they provide.
Look, if you're giving out HRT to underage kids, you can't call yourself Planned Parenthood anymore. You can't. You're literally
What do you mean?
sterilizing
They're
kids.
preventing. Yeah, they're preventing more births. What are you talking about?
They're not planning any parenthood. They're planning not to be parents.
Planned Parenthood's weird because like I don't have a problem
Planned
with it.
sterilization. That's what
Planned Parenthood is interesting because I don't have a problem with it existing, but I understand and I think the Republicans have a valid critique if it gets public funding because it's obviously an incredibly partisan organization. So
yeah, I agree. Look, and I don't really have a problem with the birth control aspect of Planned Parenthood. I do have a problem with the HRT aspect
obviously,
of Planned Parenthood.
yeah.
It's like planned sterilization hood.
Planning.
And family.
And so, yes, I get upset about that. Yes, I get upset when someone says that it's okay to ban people coming from countries based on the God they worship. Yes, I get upset when we say we're going to shut our door to refugees who are fleeing such atrocities and have been standing in line for 2 years to qualify for refugee status, and they arrive here and we turn them away. Yes, I'm going to get mad about that. Yes, I'm going to get mad when we have, I'm going to get mad when we have an attorney general who is trying to resuscitate the war on drugs.
Yes, can we talk?
And he thinks the greatest evil that mankind has ever seen is marijuana.
It's great.
Like
Something Kamala Harris indulges in every single day, obviously.
Taste.
There's nothing wrong with drugs.
No.
Legalize them all.
I've said this, and you've seen this in my emails. Leave grandma's medical marijuana alone. Just leave.
Notice that. Look at that. She knows, man.
She does.
Knows.
Yeah, I think she should run on legalizing marijuana nationwide.
She's a perfect candidate. Everyone thinks
She
she's
is.
stoned all the time anyway.
It's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Oh my God. This is a Cheech and Chong election, isn't it?
So what are you going to do about that? How are you going to? What did the Democrats do?
I think one thing is we just have to speak truth. We have to be active. You know, some people say to me, a lot of people ask me, Kamala, what can I do? What can we do? Does it matter? And it does matter. The reason the Affordable Care Act, the first time they tried to get it out of the House, it failed, was because people were speaking up and saying, don't play politics with public health. Same in terms of what's happening around, you know, what we're doing around immigration, what we're doing, you know, the people speaking up. And so even though they've not committed to keeping DACA in place, they've not done away with it yet. We have to stay active. And, you know, we have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke. Yeah. And know that and we all have to know our voice matters. And so, you know.
That was so weird. Why does she just start cackling while she's saying that? Like, that's not a joke. It's just a weird thing. Like, what's happening?
Is that Karen Swisher? Oh my God, she's the worst.
I don't know who Karen Swisher is.
Karen Swisher. That is definitely. Oh, it's Kara Swisher. That definitely is Kara Swisher. Oh my God, she's so insane. She is like crazy insane.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that she's like this big time journalist.
It's not just whistling in the wind. It does matter. And maybe the one of the many silver linings, whatever you believe, whoever you support, it's good for our democracy when people feel engaged and they feel passionate. However you feel, again, whoever you vote for, that's good for us, especially when we came out of an election cycle where, you know, we have a foreign government who, by all accounts, interfered with the election of President of the United States.
Oh my God, no!
Well, remember, this is 2017, so this is like the height of the Russia stuff.
This is hilarious.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you vote for, but Trump is a secret Russian asset.
Mm.
These are serious times.
Did you hear that?
I heard these are serious times.
No, I'm talking about the giant gulp.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Who, by all accounts,
Here it comes. Here it comes.
interfered with the election of President of the United States. These are serious times.
Oh my God, I did hear that.
These are serious times.
Oh,
That's the presidential swallow right there, man.
listen,
You gotta.
I don't want to hear this sexism and this bigotry, Adam. Okay.
What are you talking about?
You're
Sitch?
the implication in what you're saying.
There
You can't
is-
hide it from me. You can't hide it from the chat. We all know the joke that spawned in your mind when you heard that sound.
You have a dirty
No.
mind, Sitch.
No,
you have a
no.
dirty, dirty mind. Okay, I was just talking about their
all
audio
know,
issues.
Adam, that you heard that sound, that you looked at that necklace and you thought things. You fucking piece of shit bigot.
I was talking about audio issues. I don't know
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Okay.
Look at this guy.
I'm kind of a little nervous where this conversation
Don't
is
worry,
going.
chat. I will hold Adam responsible for his horrible bigotry
No.
and sexism.
It's not sexism.
Yeah.
Look, audio issues. Obviously, you see all these women on the stage, they're going to have audio issues.
Wow.
And these are not issues that, you know, we can just sit around with a glass of Chardonnay debating, you know.
My God, she's just... Sitch, every single stereotype we've thrown out about Kamala Harris is coming true in this one clip, okay?
I know, this like 1-2
she
minute
smokes weed.
clip. Yeah.
She's a wino.
I know. I know. It's all coming true.
Yeah. Ugh.
And philosophizing about the decisions that are being made right now are impacting real human beings. Lorraine talked about it. There are children who are not being sent to school because their parents are worried that they will then, those children, come in contact with authorities who will deport the parent. The police chief of Los Angeles, one of the largest police departments in the country, will tell you how there has been an exponential decline in people among immigrants reporting crimes against them.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about a rape victim. I'm talking about a victim of domestic violence, of child sexual assault, who is not reporting a crime against them because, let me tell you, and I know this from prosecuting cases, that victim of domestic violence, let me tell you, the one instinct that a woman has that is stronger than anything else is to protect her children. And she will not report a crime against herself if she thinks she'll be removed from her children and can't protect them. These are the times in which we're living. So we have to be active and we have to speak out. And so yes, there are certain emails and texts that I send out with an exclamation point.
All right, okay.
Is this fear mongering, Sitch? I feel like it is.
Well, of course, obviously.
Yeah. Big time fear mongering.
Of course. But anyway,
Fear.
You have to watch more of this, but
Why? It's great. I love it.
if you want, we can watch it.
It's early, but do you want to run for president in 2020?
Look, and you wanted to miss this, Sitch. How much of this did you watch? Do you know?
I
the
only watched
answer
that
here?
part. I didn't watch this part, so no.
What is the answer going to be? Oh no, I don't want to run for president.
She's going to say
I just
something
want to be
like-
appointed president.
She's going to say something like, "Oh, I don't know. It's 2020 is a long way away, right? We'll see."
She did run for president in 2020.
She did.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever answer she gives here will be interesting.
I'm not giving that any consideration. I got to stay focused.
You got to stay
I got to
focused.
stay focused. There's so much happening right now.
Okay,
So
I'll
that's
take
what-
that.
Lies.
See, I called it. It's like, oh, it's just I don't so much on my plate. I can't think about the 3 years in the future.
Lies. 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 Because she did run in 2020, obviously.
Right.
That is a yes. Lorraine, the last question, then we'll get to questions. You were just saying we should bring that up. Was it the environment or?
No. That was Sessions. That was just about.
So you would like to keep your medical marijuana also, in other words? No, or no, the
Grandma's medical marijuana.
No, but just the
This look here. Okay, I have to blow this look up, Sitch, because this is like
Which one? The Kamala's look?
so
the side
Kamala,
smile?
So Kamala has just this is like the duper's delight right here that, that we often bring up on the show here.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala Harris has just said grandma's marijuana.
That's a good line. It's a good
Does this
line.
face not ring of wink, wink, wink?
Mm-hmm.
It's
It does.
grandma's marijuana.
It does. She's just
Not
leaning
our-
into it hard.
Not our
Everyone's
marijuana.
Yeah.
This isn't our marijuana. Oh
Mhm.
my God. These three got so wasted right after this interview. These
After.
oh yeah, maybe before.
Before,
It could have
yeah.
been before. It could have been. These people in power, oh man, they're like, yeah, I smoked weed in the White House. Of course. We are the elites. The rules do not apply to us.
She's a medical condition.
Look, how much cocaine has Hunter Biden done in the White House? You know he has. You know he has.
He left the bag, remember?
Yeah,
Somebody left
of
the bag.
course.
Some unknown person left the bag.
I'm sure he was probably snorting it with Kamala.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
The rest, they kind of go into a bunch of climate change stuff, which it's kind of boring, but
okay, we can stop.
yeah,
I just think it's interesting.
looking at the transcript.
It's very interesting stuff here.
Mhm. Let me read some super chats.
Let's do that.
You
You have other stuff to get to? I wanted to watch a little bit of that.
Yeah, we can watch a little bit of that
Okay.
liberalism versus conservatism debate.
I don't know your time thing, but I made a comment on the Sunday show, I think it was, about Christianity taking over art for 1,000 years and it becoming like the dogma, and it's really dogma.
You said 100
that's-
years, but yeah.
Did I? Okay,
said
100
century.
years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is just a century. But anyway, a lot of people in the comments were making the argument that when conservatives take over art, it's great. And when liberals take over art, it's trash.
Of course they would say that, yeah.
Of course they would, yeah.
Right.
But I think that position is frankly delusional. It's and ignorant of the dynamics at play here, that the conservatives want to conserve tradition, the things in society that work, and liberals want to push society forward. They want progress. They want change. So the good changes, conservatives become the conservative dogma, and the bad changes become we reverse. And I want to play a little bit of that clip to kind of make that argument. Stephen Hicks makes that argument better than I ever could. So
Right. Magor for 18 months says, on my last day of paternity leave with baby number 3, thanks for all the entertainment the last few weeks while my life is chaotic. Well, you're welcome and congratulations. That's great. Baby number 3. Look at that.
sweet. Look at this. Someone's working on a voting block over
There
here.
you go. Oh, God. Radically Milquetoast for 9 months says, election schmelection. All I'm excited for is Sitch to finally pick his bug-based stand to face off against Bluntyfly. Happy sub baby. There you go.
Sweet.
I don't want a bug-based stand. Come on.
Oh, you're going to get a bug?
No. I want the little cat guy that the guy from season 4 had.
Okay.
Killer Queen. Stug for 28 months says, who does this Tim guy think he is? You can't just waltz onto this national stage and act all moderate when you've been anything but. There you go. Look at that. You like that little pun?
Look at that. Yeah.
Thank you, Stug. The Real Hulk for $5 says, hey guys, the UK is on fire. Also, do we have confirmation that the Olympic boxer had testes? If so, source, not that I doubt you, I want to use in real life. Yeah, I've seen UK stuff's all blown up, but I don't follow, so I'm not really have a big comment on that one way or the other. So the Olympic boxer stuff is still in the unknown sphere. It's still in the unknown sphere. There was a larger statement that the previous boxing administration group, whatever they're called, released a statement that they were kind of doubling down on, saying that the boxers failed their gender test. And then the current boxing administration declined to do any testing whatsoever. So, and then people are claiming that the old boxing association has some weird Russia connection, or is like run by Russia, and that they only made these claims in response to some Russian boxer losing. So
the liberal aim.
It's all kind of up in the air. My position is it's all kind of fucking ridiculous. The fact that we don't have a situation where if you don't have a boxing association that doesn't do any sort of, sex-based testing or just testosterone testing, that seems insane to me whatsoever. It seems to be just for woke purposes, because obviously if we didn't have sort of the gender issue, they would be testing that stuff just to make sure no one's taking, steroids or something. Or testosterone.
True.
So, actually, Jesse Single had an interesting comment about this, if I could find it. Because it's interesting. There's a bunch of people on the left that came out and they were all saying, "Oh, she's confirmed, having XX chromosomes confirmed, not trans, blah 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 blah." And it's all like, well, we don't know that. You're just taking, a statement on faith here, essentially, because no one really knows what's going on. So.
Got to figure it out, right?
Right.
We need an investigation.
I think they should do a test. Jesse Single said on Twitter, I'm all for not auto-trusting organizations like the IBA, which is the one that said that they failed the gender test, or the IOC for that matter. The IOC is the one that says that they looked at their passport. But I'm trying to construct a scenario in which the IBA publicly lies that it conducted 2 separate chromosome tests on both athletes, publishes the lie, and alerts the IOC in June of 2023. What would be the purpose of such an audacious, sprawling double lie? I think you can simultaneously think the IBA is corrupt and that doesn't automatically render in every position that organization has ever taken as invalid. Also in this scenario, neither athlete appeals or makes any attempt to reestablish eligibility under the IBA standard. If they are in fact eligible, this would be a pretty easy thing to prove, even if an athlete or limited means, especially if they raise a ruckus about it. Never mind. I think one of them appealed, but then dropped it. So neither athlete's appeals isn't right, but neither fully went through an appeals process, which I agree with. It does seem weird. The whole thing seems super weird. Obviously, either of them could go through some kind of, I assume, very easy to do testing to disprove the rumors about them having a Y chromosome or trans or any of that stuff. But It's all still shrouded in mist and fog.
Somebody posted a clip of them talking, the
Mhm.
male-looking female boxer,
Right.
and the speaking voice definitely read as female. I was like, oh,
Really?
that's interesting.
I didn't see that clip.
Yeah. So, yeah, life is strange, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're probably, my guess would be they're a person with an intersex condition who went through male puberty, and they're in a
Right.
country, Algeria, where that's not really recognized or known, and they were probably innocently that wasn't picked up, and thus they were misassigned to just be like female.
If you read Galileo's Middle Finger, there's a lot of people that have some kind of condition that doesn't rise to the level of intersex, but there's a lot of strange things that goes on in human reproduction. So, or human biology, probably a better word for it, that just, yeah, people don't know.
Right.
She goes through tons of examples in that book, and you're thinking, yeah, some people have conditions that are kind of in that intersex ballpark and never really know about it. So maybe it's one of those situations.
Well, again, and it's people on the left who sort of like hyper fixate on this, whether they're trans or have an intersex condition. To me, it feels like a somewhat dishonest argument, because the issue is, did the individual go through male puberty and thus has a distinct advantage, a sex-based advantage over the other athletes? And you just look at the people and they have very masculine features. There's a very weird thing. I don't know, maybe some people are less susceptible to perceiving it, which I've noticed when I'm talking to people about this. I've heard people debate this, because there was a whole, like, I was listening to Crystal and Sagar had a whole debate about this, and Crystal was kind of had this position that she was very sensitive to it because she was a female athlete, and she feels like it's some sort of attack on like femininity, or like what a female should look like and all this other stuff. And I think that's not at all, in my opinion, what's going on here. Like, I look at obviously, if you're a female athlete or you're a female boxer or weightlifter or whatever, like, you can look more masculine than most females, but you still look like a woman, right? Still, you still have a female frame, you still have a female facial structure and all these other things, even if you're, buff. And I just look at those two boxers, and they both immediately read as male to me in my mind, and they both look male in terms of their facial structure and their frame. So I don't buy the whole like, oh, they're just like buff women thing.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, you have to come up with some kind of test, some sort of specific test.
They have all these tests.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you need to draw the line in the rule book clearly. Like, is it based on genitals? Is it based on chromosomes? Is it based on it? Just the reason why we're in this situation is because it's kind of a fuzzy gray area, right? And this person is obviously in that gray area. And it's right for people to want just clarity, right? We need to know what the rules are.
It is 100%. Yeah. I mean, you have this kind of like the Castor Semia situation where a lot of these organizations, they would do, not even for gender purposes, for steroid purposes, they would test your testosterone level, and they'd be like, oh, you have like a very high level of testosterone or something. And then they stopped doing that because it's, a bigoted to trans people or intersex people.
No, it's not.
I don't think that's the logic,
Well, yeah, I get it. Yeah. And you're exactly right. That's why they're afraid to do it, because they don't want to be labeled a bigot. It's like that argument holds too much sway in our society right now. People are afraid to do things that are just innocuous because they're afraid of being called a bigot.
Yes.
The problem is the people who are willing to use the charge of bigotry against things that are just everyday normal occurrences, right?
Right. So
they do it because they want to moralize. They want to be, look, I'm on my moral high horse here. Yep. I hate those people. Hate them with a burning passion, Sitch. How do we get rid of those people?
Good.
Wouldn't it be great?
Shadow 2 Bravo for 8 months says Kamala really fumbled the bag. Bad. Walz is insane. We'll see. I don't, even if I don't like Walz, I think it might end up being a good idea to sort of appeal the base as opposed to appeal the moderates. I guess we won't know that till the election.
We're gonna find out. Look, and if behind the scenes, is it smart for Kamala to just hide if behind the scenes they're like, look, we're up 5 points. Why do you want to risk that? Why do you want? It's kind of like, you know, the accused taking the witness stand, right? Why risk it?
Well, it's sort of this why take, if you're looking at your polling number and it's just going up and up and up, why would you change your strategy?
Right.
You just keep doing what you're doing, which is hiding. So,
right.
I mean, obviously, I do think that there will eventually be a presidential debate between her and Trump, so she's going to not be able to hide forever. But I think at least for now, probably that she's hiding mostly just to make sure she secures the nomination.
Right.
And then we'll see. Maybe she'll come out after that and start talking publicly.
Look, if her poll numbers don't come down to earth, I mean, Trump fucked up big time by changing the debate stuff around because he's given her an out.
Yeah, see, it's weird because, like, I think I think what Trump should have done was, and I mean, this could all be negotiation tactics, right? He should be pushing for more debates.
I agree.
At least one more debate. So he should be like, oh, yeah, I'm in favor. We'll do the ABC debate, but then you have to agree to do the Fox News debate, which might be what we end up seeing happen.
Right.
I wouldn't be that surprised. Knight Galahad for $5 says, hey, Adam and Sitch, what would you say are the odds and the favorite to win the president and VP debates? Also, how do you think they will go? The VP, I can't even predict that. I haven't heard Vance or Walz talk enough to even question that, to have a strong opinion on that. I would think Trump is going to do much better in the debates than Kamala. Like, right, that would be my vibe, my intuition.
Yeah, he wins in authenticity, but a lot of times that authenticity leads to moments that the press can spin as a racism or, you know, violence, all kinds of different things they accuse him of. So,
well, that's what they're going to be looking. So if they do debate, they're going to be looking for the press going to be looking for those moments to hit him with. But I think unless Kamala like gets her head out of her ass and suddenly learns how to speak better, I think the debate would be Trump kind of doing all the Trumpy stuff that we've been used to for 8 years. And with Kamala, you're going to see someone speaking in like the most broadest platitudes possible. Though I would guess that her team is competent enough that she would have a series of policy prescriptions or talking points to kind of throw out there. But it'll come off, in my opinion, as very mechanical, very political. So I would think Trump would definitely do better in those debates.
It's the Democrats have such a media advantage though. So if Kamala doesn't do too badly, the media's gonna spin it as a giant win.
It's
just that's what's gonna happen.
That's true.
So I don't know how Trump can avoid that. Even if Trump does amazing, they're still going to spin it as Kamala won. That's a structural disadvantage that the Trump team has, and I don't know. It's completely unfair, but I don't know how you deal with that.
Well, I think what Trump needs is, and maybe this is what they'll negotiate with the debates, is
he needs a crowd. Yeah, you're right.
He needs a crowd, but I think even more important than a crowd, he needs the ability to have the back and forth, you know, as opposed to this, like, I talk, you talk, I talk. Because I think Kamala can have a bunch of written out talking points to just throw out there. I think she really flounders when she's put on the spot to have to, like, a personal human interaction with a person who's criticizing her or as a follow-up or something that she's not exactly prepared for. That's where she really flounders.
The reason I say Trump needs a crowd is because the crowd provides social proof that the media can't get around. So if they start sharing a bunch of clips of Trump saying something horrible, but the audience is laughing and reacting
Right.
some way that goes against the mainstream media narrative, the people out there are more likely to pick up on that social interaction than they are whatever the mainstream media is selling. So, and when you take the crowd away, and this is why the Democrats want to take the crowd away, they can spin the narrative however they want. Anything that's said, they can spin in whatever direction they want.
Right. Well, you're 100% correct. 100% correct. But also, like, another thing too that'd be important with the back and forth is, we don't know what kind of questions the moderators will ask Kamala.
Right.
And
Yes.
Trump, I think he would be benefited if he could be like, Kamala, your VP said he's a socialist. He's in favor of socialism. He says neighborliness. You favor socialism. Kamala, come on the record, say what you feel about socialism. Like, kind of, sort of like make her take a position on that. Make her take a position on the no limits for abortion. Like, Kamala, your VP, he's in a state. There's no term limits. They could get an abortion the day before. Like, make her kind of take a stance on a lot of these issues that she would prefer not to take a stance on.
Well, this would be so fun just to be a part of the Trump campaign, because I would be trying to think of ways that you could ask those tough questions that also the media would spin as some knock against me. So you're definitely sure that it will get out there, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But I don't, that's a challenge right there.
It is.
Yeah. But it's a fun challenge. And also, I mean, the problem with Trump though is you could give him a million interesting
You don't know if he's going to
ways.
say any of them.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
He's not.
Right.
This is part of Trump's authenticity, right? He's like, I'm not going to take a bunch of scripted questions. It's funny because we watched those Charlottesville response videos, and I completely forgot that he was reading from a script. Try to get Trump to do that now.
I know.
Right?
It's very tough, Adam. It's very difficult. Very difficult.
Right.
On
many sides. On many sides.
Many sides, yes. Guru Ralph for 24 months. Thanks so much for 2 years support. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sitch, she couldn't pick Shapiro because the left hates the Jews.
True.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's definitely part of it. Ethan Rogers for 1 month says, I think y'all need to organize a chat between Dev and Sean. Dev seems painfully ignorant of the real effects of Democrat policies. Sean could teach him. Wow. Well, I'm assuming you mean like crime stuff, because that's what Sean talks about primarily.
They don't have crime in Canada. It's too cold to go out and commit crime.
That is true.
Freezes everyone. Oh, look, dialogue always.
Hey, Eric Diote for 5 Canadian says, stay away from Molly. Never had it before, but based on what I've heard from friends is that they have no positive emotion for 1 month post taking it. Well, there you go. Don't do the Molly, kids.
It does completely drain all of your serotonin. So
Does it really? Holy shit.
Yeah, because that's how it feels good. You get like a month's worth of serotonin in like 2 hours.
That's awful. Don't fucking do that. That's terrible. That's why psilocybin's better, because it doesn't have some kind of fucking weird, like, lasting horrible effect on your brain like that.
Well, first of all, you should avoid these drugs now because of the giant fentanyl crisis.
That's a good point.
Look, I've done MDMA, and I mean, it's amazing.
Nah.
But I wouldn't trust any. I don't know where you'd get some that wasn't just fucking fentanyl. And you're basically any drugs that you're buying off the street now, you are risking your life.
Yeah.
In a way that just wasn't the situation 20, 30 years ago.
That is insane. Yeah, because everything's cut with fentanyl because fentanyl's so cheap.
Yeah, so that's the problem. That is a huge problem, but.
Gene Penguin for $5 says, considering the VP is almost always, quote, don't shoot, the other guy's worse insurance. Walz meets that criteria. I mean, I guess from that stand, I think it's just, again, I think they're just both appealing to the base here, these choices. So.
Yeah, I heard that meme someone started that argument that you pick a crazy VP so you protect yourself from assassination. And I think, really?
Oh, that's what they meant
Really?
when that's what you mean. We said, don't shoot the other guy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Yeah, I've heard that. Okay.
When I talk about custodial voting, a lot of people will say, oh, people will have 20 kids. And I think, really? You know how much work it is to have 20
It's a
kids?
lot, yeah.
Most people don't have the energy to vote because their lives are so filled. You're going to have 20 kids and have the energy to vote for those 20 kids? Get out of here.
I think the don't shoot thing, it's a funny meme. I don't think that's anyone's ever really chosen for that purpose at all.
Yeah. Seems
It's a funny
silly,
idea.
but
Caleb the Cynic for 14 months. Thanks so much. Says, what's happening? Cliff notes, please. Well, you'll have to listen.
yeah, look, we record these things so you can
That's
listen
right.
to it later.
The Real
Listen on
Holtz Native
double
for-
speed. We sound like 10 times smarter.
That's right. Real Holtz for $5 says, all these activities are the best anti-UBI argument I've seen. Anyone not working is going to vote to make DoorDash a human right or some BS. How do you feel about that?
Well, there's some big study that came out, Sam Altman did, and everyone is running around saying, oh, this completely annihilates UBI. We had Scott Santens, I believe is his last name, on the show, who is a UBI guy. He's basically investigated. I think he's like an activist for UBI, so he looks into all these things. He looked at the Sam Altman study and broke it down on Twitter. I retweeted it if you want to take a look at it, but a lot of the stuff they're saying is not really accurate. A lot of people who hate UBI are always looking for ways to crap all over it. So that study is not the death knell to UBI that a lot of people are claiming it is.
No, it's kind of mixed in terms of pros and cons, which is what you'd expect for anything. So,
well, yeah, and it's not really. It wasn't even really UBI because they forgot the universal part. It was like a welfare program.
Well, yeah, it was seeing how people would react to you. Basically, I mean, you can't study UBI on that level unless you're literally you can't study the impacts on the economy, right? It was studying the impacts on personal behavior,
right? I look at UBI from a business perspective. You're going to have winners and losers in business. Business just incorporates it into the model. You're like, I'm going to start 10 businesses. 8 of them are going to fail. And 2 of them are going to make so much money that they're going to pay for all of the failures. That's the way that I look at UBI. But most people look at UBI, if you have 1 failure, it's not worth it. Don't do it. That is a losing strategy. That is a very losing strategy in business. It's a losing strategy in life. You should not put all your eggs in one basket. You should think, I'm going to try a lot of different things, and some things I'm going to be good at, some things I'm going to be terrible at. And failure is part of life. So, and a study like this, I looked at it and I'm like, okay, we picked 1,000 lazy losers and we gave them UBI. And guess what? They were lazy losers. It's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. They probably are poor because they are lazy losers. So I'm sure there are people out there that are, life has been set against them. They've not had a lot of opportunity. They aren't lazy. They're hard workers, but it's hard for them to get ahead because the economic environment is against them. I wholeheartedly believe those people exist. But there are also a lot of lazy losers, right? It's human nature. There's both. So the point of UBI is you want to find this 20% of people who aren't lazy losers, who are working their asses off, just the economic environment has been set against them. They don't have, a rich uncle or rich parents or good credit or any of that stuff. And you want to invest in that person. Well, the only way to find that person, you're already talking about maybe 20% of the population, right? Where most people are lazy losers. You just got to give everybody money. And the idea is those lazy losers are going to continue to be lazy losers. Maybe you're paying them not to commit crimes, right? They're actually not going out and stealing from people for drug money, okay? The people who are working hard and being industrious, maybe they take advantage of the fact that crime goes down. But you do have 20% who go out there and they're economically productive in a way that makes the whole thing possible. Does that make sense? Is that like a logical business perspective on UBI?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but a lot of people can't stand the idea that that money is being given to lazy losers. So that's the thing. But it's kind of the idea, and a lot of people don't go into business for this reason. They have this idea that, look, this is a high risk. I'm going to start this restaurant and it's going to fail. Well, the people who are really successful are the people who are like, I'm going to start 10 businesses, and yeah, 8 of them are going to fail. But that's just the cost of doing business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's my perspective on UBI.
Okay. Moondoggy for $5 says, "Is that Red Biden?" Oh yeah, Walz. He was very flush. Yes.
Was
in
he?
that video? Yeah. JE for $5 says, "Harris picking Walz is such an unforced error. She should have selected Shapiro and made the electoral landscape so much more difficult for Trump." Again, it really depends on what the polling shows and what the prediction, because I don't know the answer to this question. What is the prediction for the outcome? Is the prediction for the outcome going to be that Kamala's looking at polling and saying, okay, in order to win this, I need to get the moderates and the swing votes and the undecided, or do I need to just draw from my base as deep as possible? Because those both give you very different outcomes. If it's drawing from the moderates, then yeah, obviously Shapiro would be the direction to go. If it's drawing from the base, then Walz is the direction to go. So we don't really know. I don't know what the answer to that question is. Kingslayer Damocles for $5 says, "After Parkland, he went anti-Second Amendment, and of course, gun confiscation. Kamala would choose someone who openly praises his F rating with the NRA." Yeah, that makes sense. And also, I mean, yeah, there was that comment. That's comment's going to come back. I don't know how. I mean, it'll help definitely people on the right come out, but I don't know how impactful it'll be. You know, Kamala made that statement about, I believe it was gun confiscation for assault rifles or something. So that's obviously they're gonna hit her with that one. The left needs to get off the assault rifles thing. That's it's such a weird and stupid, completely emotional driven argument. The whole assault rifle category, it's not a real category. It doesn't mean anything. It's a complete waste of time. The overwhelming majority of gun crime is not committed by assault rifles. It's just, it really shows to me that people can't, even people that want something, they can't fixate on how to solve an issue like on a logical level. It's all just like kind of emotional speaking and vibe checks. M8566 for $5 says, "Sitch, how are you alive? The TV said Florida was underwater." I really despise how the news covers hurricanes and storms and things in the last 10 years. It's like if there's any kind of storm or hurricane or anything, regardless of whether it's like super severe or super mild, they cover it all like as if it's the end of the world. So it completely like breaks your brain, because like sometimes there are very severe storms that are very bad and damaging, and that's fine that they're covered that way. But then they cover these like minor occurrences for most areas of the country or the state as if it's like the same level. They just hype up everyone's fear and anxiety. Gene the Entertainment for $5 says, "Every time I hear climate change, I strip mine another acre of land for lithium for electric car batteries. Though I'm a Captain Planet villain." Well, there you go. Brian for $5 says, "What country flag pin is Walz wearing? This confirms that Kamala is going to go progressive, so I will not be voting for them at all." Was he wearing I didn't even notice. He was wearing a flag pin? In the Zoom call? Wait, let me bring it up again. Let's see. It's not here in my history. That's unfortunate.
What do you mean it's in the Watch Together history? I guess it was a Twitter video, right?
I was trying to look in. He's wearing he's wearing the that's the state flag. It's not a country flag. He was wearing the state of Minnesota flag. Which makes sense. He's the governor. Squeeze Louise for $10 says, "They made the flag even worse to make it look less Somalian, and I'm mad because the tricolor one slaps." Oh, well, there you go. The Real Hallucinator for $5 says, "I don't know, Sitch. A-Team is looking pretty good right now. I don't hear Adam talking positively about people who hate me and want me dead." What? I mean,
did you do that, Sitch?
I don't know.
Find it hard to believe.
I've been
Sitch.
talking positively about like the politics of how I think people would perceive things. If that, triggers you, I guess you can take it however you want.
People who hate me. Look, Sitch is on our side. Okay.
I'm just trying to see how I think people are going to perceive things. Ryan for 27 months. Thanks so much. This is a non-progressive. Walz passes the vibe check as a little-known individual from my perspective. While pretty progressive, he is very Midwesty. Yes, that's the folksiness that they're banking on, which could very well work in this election.
Yeah. Look, I saw. It looks like Kamala Harris pulled ahead in the polls now.
Yeah, I saw that too. Stargate 404 for $5 says the real reason she picked Walz over Shapiro is that Walz was on the white man for Harris Zoom call. He can say mea culpa faster than the others. There you go. Yeah, which is what we watched. Actually, let me look at the list. Was Shapiro not there? Let's see. They had Pete Buttigieg, Josh Gad, which is strange, Adam Schiff, Swalwell, Mark Hamill.
Oh yeah,
Lance
Mark
Bass.
Hamill.
Look at
How did we not watch Mark Hamill on the white dude's call?
Because it probably would be sad, and I like
Mark
Mark
but
Hamill,
that's our bread and butter. What are we talking about?
I don't want to say it. I purposely don't watch it. David Hogg. Yeah, Shapiro wasn't there. Interesting. Okay. And they had what's that guy's name? The everyone hates guy. Adam. Everyone hates Adam guy. That guy sucks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Current for
He has
21
the same
months.
name as me.
I know. Says thank you. Says kind of random, but I haven't seen Stephen Michael Davis in a hot minute. Has he had any thoughts on the whole Kamala thing? I see him. He responded to some of my funny Twitters about Lunchables, I think, or no, it was about the Cheez-It Suck. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. He's making. I don't know if he'd made a video on Kamala or anything.
I think he did a big move recently.
Oh, okay.
So it started a new job. So
Right.
that might be why he hasn't made any videos.
J-Mac for $20. Thanks so much to Circuit Father for $20. Says Adam is full of beans today and totally on it. Love it. Full of beans today. Just
Nice.
Have you eaten the beans today?
I haven't, but
Okay.
I am talking a lot of mad smack. And I love it.
MA566 for $5 says, which state has the best flag and why is it California?
Because we have, look,
Your flag sucks. What are you talking about?
we have a big old grizzly bear on our flag, okay?
It's lame. It's just a bear. I mean, okay, let me be real. It's
Look,
not
how
gonna
does
suck.
California answer the bear man challenge?
It doesn't suck. It's fine, I guess. The bear is fine.
Obviously,
bear
we
on
go
it.
with the bear. Yeah.
It's like unique. Florida's flag unfortunately sucks total ass. So
Does it?
yeah,
I've never even seen it. It's so
it's
lame.
like it's a white flag with a red cross, and then there's like the state seals just in the middle of it. So it's pretty boring. I don't know who has the best, but
California has decidedly weighed in on the democracy versus republic question.
it says Republic. Yeah.
California Republic.
So, but yeah, I'll say California's is better than Florida's. How about that?
Look at this.
I think most of the state flags are kind of shitty, honestly.
We got a big old brown bear here. Just
Like if the Florida flag should have like a big gator on it, like that'd be pretty cool, right?
yeah, it could be facing the other direction. So it was like gator versus grizzly. Now that would be a fight. You should
There
say
you go.
the democracy of Florida, the Florida democracy
the
versus
democracy
the
gators and the
California
Republic bears.
Republic.
Yeah, there you go. We could fight it
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Look at that. Following our North Star. Actually, what's this fucking red star on our flag? That's a little suspicious, Sitch.
There you go.
We got a commie star up
You
there.
got a commie star. What's up with that?
Surprised they didn't put a hammer and sickle up there.
Interesting.
Don't give them any ideas. That Gavin
Right.
Newsom.
What's going on there?
Yeah.
Okay. Vesna VK for $2 says Tim Walz is 6 months, 2 weeks older than Kamala. Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow. She looks, I guess she just looks very good for her age because he seems way older. So
This is the little known advantage of not having kids.
it's
Kids
all
stress you
optics.
out. Yeah. Kids
It's all
stress you
optics.
out and
Well, black
stress
don't crack,
ages
so I
you.
guess that confirms that she's black, right?
That is a racist stereotype, Sitch. I cannot believe you said that on our
Okay.
show.
Everyone was thinking it. All right.
Everyone was thinking that she's not black, to be honest with you.
I'll
That's
say,
what
look,
people were
I'm
thinking.
doing my part. Okay.
Trying to dispel the
Stargate
myth.
44 for $5 says Harry. Whoop. Wait, I just lost.
Did it skip on you?
Okay, here we go. Stargate 44 for $5 says Harris is making the same mistake a lot of businesses made, thinking young liberals will buy your product. TikTok has terrible throughput for a reason. It's interesting because they're both appealing to the young internet's more extreme elements of the party.
Well, they got those voters to the polls last time because of student debt relief.
Yes.
They didn't deliver on student debt relief. A lot of those people are probably pissed.
Here's what if I was to try to mind read the Kamala campaign. This is what I think they are thinking. I think they're thinking we're going to get the moderates because we're going to hype up Donald Trump threat to democracy stuff so much and that they're so anti-abortion. I think that's what I think their thought process is. And they're like, okay, but we've lost the young people and some of the more extreme base because of what you just said, Adam, which is a good point. Student debt relief stuff. Some of it, like they kind of passed, some of it they didn't pass. And then also all the Israel shit is really hurting them. So they probably thought like they're going to shore up that base. Now I don't know if that's going to work.
All those people know if they got the student debt relief or not. They do. It's so
obviously, of course, obviously.
Politics really is quid pro quo. Just you gotta understand that. You really do. That's politics 101. Those people went to the polls because Joe Biden offered them a policy that would tangibly improve their lives. They're like, look, I can avoid some student loan payments and I can buy a fucking couch.
Right. The Real Jose for $2 says most people don't think the BLM riots happened. Really?
Oh yeah.
Huh. I don't know if I'd be curious to see some polling on that. I don't know. I would be kind of surprised if that's the case.
This is interesting. Someone in the chat is saying he failed. He forgave billions in student debt. I don't know how much he forgave. I think he tried to forgive student debt through a executive order. I believe that went to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court overturned it. Said you can't. The Congress controls the purse and you can't forgive debt via. So maybe some of it was forgiven. And I mean, that's worst case scenario if they actually didn't have to make payments and then they got a letter saying, oh, by the way, those payments you missed, we need those. Can you imagine how pissed off the people are? But I've heard a lot of people on left-wing media, I don't know if you guys ever listen to that, talking about how they got fucked hardcore on the student debt relief. So maybe on Fox News, they're saying, oh, he gave them billions.
Yeah, and I have an article up and I'll read it real quick here for you. But my understanding was that, he tried to pass the original thing that was like the blanket student loan that got overturned by the Supreme Court. They said he didn't have the power to do that. And then recently he's been passing like mini versions of that to try to get those things passed. And I thought some of them passed and some of them are still waiting to pass.
Right.
So.
Yeah, look, politicians try to keep their campaign promises because they know you voted based on getting that policy prescription. If you didn't get that policy prescription, you're like, damn,
right,
this guy screwed me. Think I'm going to vote for him again? No. I mean, this is why they always attack Donald Trump on the wall. They're like, look, you didn't even get the wall built. Ha. People wanted a wall from you. I thought Mexico was going to pay for it. They didn't pay for shit.
So he says, the Biden administration, this is from Forbes, the Biden administration has released new details on an upcoming student loan forgiveness initiative that could benefit millions of borrowers. The latest plan, expected to launch this fall, right before the election, obviously, is intended as a second attempt at mass student debt relief after Joe Biden's first plan was struck down by the Supreme Court last year. Following nearly a year of negotiated rulemaking, the Education Department has indicated that the new program is in its final stages. One of the primary groups of borrowers potentially eligible for student loan forgiveness under Biden's new plan are those who've experienced an increase in their loan balance over time due to interest accrual and capitalization. This can occur under a variety of circumstances, such as being an income-driven repayment plan when the payments are less than the monthly amount of interest accrual. Okay, let's see. According to the new Education Department guidance, a borrower was eligible for partial student loan forgiveness under this category if their current balance on an unconsolidated direct loan is greater than the balance on that loan when it entered repayment, or if the current balance on a consolidation loan is greater than the balance of loans included in your consolidation loan when the original loans entered repayment. All borrowers would be eligible for the debt cancellation either up to the amount by which the borrower's current balance exceeds the principal and the interest balance where the loan enters repayment, or $20,000, whichever is less, says the department.
So they're trying to take it from the banks instead of the borrower.
Right.
They're saying if you have a loan that has a bunch of interest debt added to the principal, that they're going to forgive.
Right.
Hypothetically, probably from getting screwed from high interest rates.
Yes. Now said borrowers who entered repayment at least 20 years ago or 25 years ago are eligible too. Okay. I don't know what the exact numbers are going to break down, so they're going to try to do something, obviously. Brian for $5 says, if Donald Trump had chosen Byron Donalds as his VP, I think Trump would be the favorite to win rather than the close race that's happening now. Byron Donalds was the guy we saw on, was that CNN that we watched the other day? Remember that clip at him? Yeah.
That's a Florida?
The black Florida representative, yeah.
He's great.
Yeah, no one really talked about him. They all talked about Tim Scott. And I think Byron Donalds, at least Tim Scott, feels like you're just gonna like suck all the energy out of your life force by just being near him.
Right,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I never feel that way.
I don't know why people Byron Donalds definitely feels to be a much better politician. It is kind of interesting. That would have been a good choice. I don't know why his name never came up. So
Trump supporter too.
Size Zyfiz for 28 months. Thanks so much. Says, how does JD Vance know that Curtis Yarvin endorsed Biden? First of all, Curtis Yarvin endorsed Biden?
Did Sitch know that Curtis
I didn't know that.
Yarvin endorsed Biden?
That's very fascinating. Well, why would he endorse Biden? I don't even understand that.
Why doesn't Dev talk to Curtis Yarvin? Dev is such a huge Curtis Yarvin fan, and every time we talk about him, people are wanting us to get him on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's funny, because the person who reached out to me and said, "Oh yeah, I can totally get Curtis Yarvin on your show if you want," was Aiden Paladin.
Right.
And Dev and Aiden Paladin are like in a drop down feud right now. So I was going to say, Dev, you should just reach out to Aiden Paladin. You could talk to your hero, Curtis Yarvin, but I guess he kind of screwed himself on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I just talk, so Sitch has time to read the article so he can get to the
I'm listening to you. You're talking about how Aiden and Dev are fighting. Yeah,
Sitch is so smart that he can read an article and listen to me talk at the same time, which I'm getting better at.
Right.
I am getting better at that. Sometimes I'm like taking notes and like I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be listening to Sitch at the same time here. But look, I'm older than you. The brain slows down. I'm amazed I'm as quick as I am for my age.
I don't know. I'm reading this article that he put out.
I told you.
Yeah, no, obviously
I nailed
Adam
it.
knows when I'm reading, because I'm like a lot more terse with my response.
I nailed it.
I'm reading this article or skimming it that Chris Yarman put out where he's talking about supporting Biden, and the whole thing just reads very trolly to me. So I don't know what's going on here. I'm assuming it's a troll, but It feels very trolly.
So the chat seems to be on Dev's side in the Aiden Dev feud. So who is this? Recursive. Look, I should never do this. I should never give out shout outs when people are being. Well, I guess this is honest criticism though. Recursive says Adam is being mean to Dev again. Oh, I
Don't
thought.
be mean to Dev.
Yeah. So I'm joking around, obviously.
Right.
Although a lot of people are mad at Dev because I guess Dev had a similar response well, I don't know if this is actually true or not. He's being accused of having a similar response to Destiny in the Trump assassination.
He did not.
Stuff.
That is not a fair characterization.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're chiming in here because I don't know, and it's hard for me to imagine. It's hard for me to imagine somebody having a comparable response to Destiny, aka that bad a response. So
yeah, he did not. So I know people were saying that's not accurate. So
right, a lot of times people do lean into the hyperbole because they're like, I don't like this person. We get that a lot. People get mad at us. A lot of times it's people on the left because they perceive us as attacking progressives too much. They're like, you need to shut up and toe the progressive line. You need to buy into the progressive dogma and just, we have a movement here from the 1960s that we're trying to conserve here. You might even call it a conservative movement. So they don't like us attacking their progressive conservative movement.
Right.
Oh, you want to move on?
Forrest for $10 says former Minnesota National Guard unit members of Walz's claim he retired early from National Guard after their unit received deployment orders to Iraq in 2005, then immediately ran for Congress on his military service.
Who's that?
That was Walz.
Walz? So Walz is a military guy? Wow. Okay.
He was in the National Guard. Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't count.
Wow. Look at Adam over here.
National Guard. Well, the National Guard, it's notorious politicians going to the National Guard. You do like 2 weekends a month or something so that they can claim they have military service. You don't know this?
I did know that, I guess.
A lot of people.
Interesting. So there is, I see this article.
I'll be right
about
back.
It. Okay. There's this article about it. So people criticizing whether Walz is sort of legit or not. So I guess we'll look into it. We'll see if Walz is going to get John Kerry Swift voted or not. Ethan W. Monster says Mississippi is a blue state. Really? I don't believe that's accurate. So Mr. Ubercross, thanks so much for the 20 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. It's very generous of you. Harrison Dill for $5 says your favorite YouTuber Philosophy Tube was on House of Dragon. Oh my god. Yeah, me and Adam are actually probably we might talk about House of Dragon tomorrow on the How to Kill Franchise channel. So we'll probably talk about the philosophy. We'll talk about, the finale. We'll talk about Philosophy Tube in the finale, which was very weird, very strange. So very bizarre casting. Nolan Gams for 10. Yes, I was telling everyone we were going to probably talk about House of Dragon tomorrow on the other channel.
Oh, good.
Brought up the Philosophy Tube cameo.
Yeah. Ugh.
Look at that. Philosophy Tube. They're in Star Wars Acolyte. They're in House of a Dragon. Okay, look at that. They're getting roles.
Yeah, just in time to put House of the Dragon in the coffin.
Just as House of the Dragon. I mean, I never liked it, but now it seems like most people are starting to not like it either. So just in time, right?
Not only that, in a completely useless role that just
a weird and useless role.
Yeah, so stupid.
In a role where you wouldn't want the gender of the character to be ambiguous either.
Of course, yeah.
Nolan Gams for 10 months says opening the stream gave me back-to-back Kamala ad and then a Trump ad. Feels good to be a kingmaker.
Yeah, there you go. Totally.
That's pretty funny.
We had a lot of undecided voters. We had like 700 undecided voters.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Harrison
We
Dill
could
for
decide this election, Pisco.
That's right. That's why they get
Look.
so triggered at us.
Of course. Look, we're gonna be rallying those undecided voters.
There you go.
They're gonna do mail-in ballots in some strategic county, Pisco. Coming for you.
Harrison Dill for $2 says, I get political ads for states I don't live in. Wow, it's awful. Eric Diote for 5 Canadian says, thank you. Says, you want to talk about meddling? Obama, a foreign leader, endorsed Trudeau back in the 2015 Canadian election. Wow, look at that.
Oh, I guess,
election
look,
interference.
I'm going to stop talking smack about the Canadians then. You guys meddle as much as you want.
Right. Nolan Gams for $2 says, what deck does JD Vance run? This is make or break. You know what? That's an excellent fucking question, Nolan. I'm so glad you brought that up. That's the information, okay, that we have to know before we decide who to vote for, right? Because if it turns out that JD Vance runs a fucking mill deck, then you better not vote for Donald Trump on that alone. That is despicable. If he runs a despicable mill deck, then he's fucking dead. Dead to all of us, Magic players.
Really? You hate mill decks that much?
Yes.
I mean,
well, I'm not voting, but
it's cool that that he plays at least.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good question for him to find out if he really is a Magic the Gathering fan, right?
What kind of decks does he run? Yeah, that would be interesting.
What is your opinion of the mill deck?
How do you feel about
ask
mill
him
decks?
that.
Yeah.
And if he fumbles, he's just a fake geek girl.
Oh my God, that's true. That's true. What if he starts talking about grain or something? Be like, well, this fucking guy. Terrible. If you don't know what a mill deck is, don't worry about it. It's just a type of deck that you can play Magic the Gathering that is super obnoxious and terrible.
It's a type of deck for heroes.
It's a type of deck for scumbags. Okay. It's the worst. Burn is pretty bad. Burn is bad too, but mill is just disgusting. Sketch for $2 says, instead of coup, what about usurper? That's got like I don't know. That sounds like a cooler version of coup, doesn't it? Like they used to call Robert Baratheon, the usurper, right?
Usurper, huh?
Yeah. You'd have, you have Trump, attempted usurper, and Kamala, usurper of Biden. I don't think the right would like that. It makes it sound too cool for Kamala to be the usurper.
Why do you object so much to the coup term? I feel nothing when I hear people saying that. I know that it's just politics.
Because it's a troll. It's a troll, but then it's like the people say the troll long enough and it like becomes real. It's very weird how the psychology of that all works.
It is. Yeah.
Grendel Vat for $5 says, is Kamala actually going to speak in public after winning the nomination, or is she going to keep dodging the cameras until election day? I guess we'll find out in the coming next couple of days.
It's working. Why would she?
Yeah, like on one hand, it's like it's working. So maybe she'll just hide indefinitely until she has to come out and speak. Though it would be very embarrassing, I think. It will become noticeable if Walz is going out and speaking and she's not. Then it'll become too noticeable, I think. So they both have to hide. Lucer Doman for 2 Canadians says A-Team reigns supreme. Look at that. There you go.
Nice.
Knight Galahad for $5 says, it's okay, Adam. As a fellow Californian, I also know the truth. Kamala is not a quieter.
A quitter? That's supposed to be quitter?
Is it supposed to be quitter?
I don't know.
It says quieter.
Look at that. A-Team reigns supreme in all caps, and Sitch just mumbles it under his breath. I haven't seen one S-class is best class in this entire chat.
Mm-hmm.
Sitch is coping and sneezing over that. A-Team reigns supreme, I bet.
I'm just coping, totally. Coping and sneezing, yeah. There you go. Philip Moore for $5 says, how bad do you think the economy will crash if she wins? Her green policy is going to run the U.S. into the ground.
It's inflation from here as far as the eye can see, obviously.
I know it's going to be interesting because we're going to have, if Kamala wins, you're going to have whatever green policies they put in place. You're going to probably have more spending increases and things of that nature. And then if Trump wins, you're going to have the tariffs. So I don't know. I don't know which way. I feel like it's going to be a downward economy regardless. So I guess we'll find out.
Yeah,
I wouldn't tell. I don't think
I'm
anyone
not
should.
sure.
People are freaking out about it now. I don't think people should be freaking out about the economy now. I think this was just kind of like a correction. I thought everyone kind of saw it coming, so I
Well,
wouldn't
I
worry
saw
too
it
much
coming. I
about
kept
this.
telling you this is your opportunity.
I know your top opportunity to buy. Yeah,
Did you?
I
Did
haven't bought
you?
anything yet. No.
You'll have more opportunities. I don't think it's going to be like a V shape back up. I think we're going to be trending downward for
hmm
a few weeks here at
Yeah.
least.
No.
I think the market
yeah.
was way too enthusiastic. I think obviously the market follows economic news. And I think the economic news is going to be trending downward. So
Well,
you'll have opportunity to get in.
and it's funny because like obviously if the stock starts going down, it's going to be worse for Biden and Kamala going into the election because they had to deal with inflation, but they could always be like, oh, the economy's doing really well. So
If
that
they
wouldn't
do
be.
that emergency rate cut, which they're talking about,
hmm
the market, for those of you who don't follow the stock market, the market dropped like 1,000 points yesterday. I think it was down 1,200 or 1,300 at one point. So everyone is like losing their minds. Oh my God, we got to have an emergency rate cut. Get the Fed in here. Help us. We're all dying. If the Fed does an emergency rate cut, I think it's going to just signal, oh my God, we're in a recession and it's going to get worse. So it's kind of interesting that the thing that they want to come in and happen, I don't think will help. I think the reason why the market was kind of getting out over their skis was they were kind of thinking rate cuts would be coming and the economy would be improving.
Okay.
We'll see.
Mr. Ubercross, thanks so much for $20. Says I've watched a video saying the X, Y, and XX are not always that easy to differentiate. It's not as clear as the letters make it sound. You could have something Y looking, but is X, and something X looking that's Y. That is true, but I
don't know that is though.
well no, it is sort of true, but I think with modern genetic testing or chromosomal testing, I thought it was pretty straightforward, but.
I mean, who made that video? Because the Y chromosome is like a little tiny mutant chromosome compared to the X chromosome. So I don't like visually, it seems obvious. Here, I'll see if I can bring up a picture.
Okay. Well, I know that the Y chromosome is much smaller than the X chromosome. Yes.
Yeah.
But you can have like XY females and you can get weird things. So.
Right.
Anyways. Stug for $10 says, thank you. Says, if you want to discuss sex, you look at gametes and reproductive organs. If you want to discuss athletic sex-based advantages, you look at things like bone structure and testosterone or which puberty you had. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's true.
So I brought up the picture. You can see like the XY is super, the Y is like tiny, half the size of the X. And if you're XX, you've got two that are exactly the same size.
Right.
So
But I'm assuming that's the standard look. I'm sure there's some kind of like weird variations you can get.
How they get the camera inside the cells to do this. Now that's the question.
Well, they don't get the camera in the cells, but though I don't know if you saw it, they actually built they have this like teeny tiny drone that's so small it can like capture cells. Did you see that?
No,
video?
Really?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Really?
Yeah, really.
That's not some AI concoction?
No, it was real. Real. It's a real little robot drone.
The drone flies down your throat or something?
No. No. It doesn't fly into you. It's like ejected into you or put into a solution or something.
Oh, okay. So it goes in your bloodstream.
Right. Well, I'm assuming the little video I saw was not of inside someone. I'm assuming it was in some kind of like petri dish. But
oh wow. Okay, I'll look it up.
Pretty cool looking, yeah. Dalek always for $5. Thank you. Says, quote, the left is annoyed by this because we were told that, quote, women are genitals by the right, and now we've moved the chromosomes. I feel like that's not true, though. I feel like the chromosome thing has been what people have been saying from like the beginning, wasn't it? Isn't that what
Yeah.
you were? I've always heard. I mean, yeah, people would say like, obviously dick, dick and balls, but the chromosome thing's been pretty early, so I don't agree with that. Neocon Sitch for $10 says, as I commented on your Sunday stream, Harris's VP pick is about Shapiro's ambitions. From Fetterman's comments in a video produced by the Philly mayor, nothing to do with policy being reported by Fox.
Interesting.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
Shapiro's too ambitious?
Like he's
going to overshadow her? Smother her with a pillow?
I mean, you got to be careful. As I said, Shapiro would outshine the master.
Oh, yeah.
Fetterman is concerned about Shapiro for VP aides tell Harris's team. Fetterman advice suggested to Harrison's team that Senator believes that Shapiro is excessively focused on his own personal ambitions. His reservations about Shapiro reflect a long-running rivalry between the two ambitious Democrats. Okay.
Wow.
Fetterman's representatives reveal his concerns to the party's new standard-bearers team underscores the intense scrutiny being applied to possible running mates, blah, blah, blah.
That is kind of crazy that Fetterman is super ambitious when I guess he had a stroke and he kept going, so.
He did, yeah. I don't know. I would assume everyone in politics is pretty ambitious, so.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, if Shapiro is very ambitious, he is a white male, and would the Democrats feel comfortable, like if he does a good job, they feel comfortable with him being, like if Kamala wins, they feel comfortable with him being the potential next, person to pick up the stick, the baton.
Right.
So I guess they went with Biden. He was a white male, so. The Real Health Standard for $5 says, I didn't look at that study. I'm just saying that if people aren't working, most will radicalize. Like I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with that.
I'm laughing about the next super chat. It's hilarious.
Electro for $20. Thank you so much. Says S class is best class. And I'm going to be honest. I clean pools for work and I fell in one. Oh, that sucks so much. So I'm blaming Adam for distracting me with those bad Linkin Park takes. Oh my God. Look at that Electro coming out hard. Based Electro. S class is best class.
That's funny. That's funny after our conversation about the Minnesota flag. How did you fall in?
Because he was just hearing your awful takes on Linkin Park, and he's just so shocked that he just fell right in.
Linkin Park.
Yeah.
Sorry. Look, I feel I owe you an apology.
You should. You should.
But I don't apologize. You deserved it.
Wow. Look at this asshole here. Terrible.
Look, you got to pay attention. You can't blame me for my bad Linkin Park takes, okay?
Yeah, terrible. Cybris for $5 says, how's the channel been doing? I love you guys wanting to blow up. Any thoughts, plans on channel growth front and Sitch face reveal when? I don't know.
Well, my plans. I mean, I'm trying to get Sitch to go on and suck up to Destiny, but he won't do it. So
that's not true. That's not true.
If only we could get Destiny to promote our channel.
There you go.
That would be a good path to growth. But
look at this troll here.
Look, we probably could get Anna would probably give us a shout out if we harangued her into doing it, but neither one of us feel comfortable doing that kind of stuff. No, yeah, exactly. We are. It's so funny when people accuse us of being audience captured, since Sitch and I mean, really don't have any kind of strategy to build an audience or get audience captured or any of that stuff. I mean, I think to grow the channel, the way people usually do it is they just lean into partisanship.
Right.
That's the way to grow a political channel. And do we really want to do that? Do we want to sell our souls, Sitch?
No, I don't.
Yeah. We're stuck in this crazy environment where people, they just want to listen to partisan schlock all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. have their feelings confirmed over and over again.
Starhawks1 for $2 says Ohio State flag is goated. So actually, I
Is
sent a
it?
picture of it to you, Adam.
I'll
I
check
think
it
it actually
out.
looks pretty good. I do like the Ohio flag. It's pretty cool looking.
I'll be the judge of that.
Okay. Let's see. It's kind of
Well,
like, yeah,
I got What If All It Has to read Dictator's Handbook, and he says it's great. So
of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just want cred.
Mm.
Wow. Oh, I see why Sitch likes it.
Why?
Well, it has sort of one of those rebel flag vibes.
Does it? That's
It
not
does.
What do you mean?
Looks like the General Lee right here.
It doesn't look anything like what the fuck are you talking about?
Like the stars and bars.
Are you just saying that because like, well, the rebel flag has an X in it. This is like a triangle in it.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, I don't get a rebel flag vibe. I think it looks cool. It looks kind of like it's like a interesting take on the American flag. So I think it looks pretty based.
Does that make it look worse if it's a stars and bars?
I think it looks good.
Yeah, okay.
It kind of looks like something from BioShock Infinite. So
Is it
that
is it forked? Or is that
It's
just
forked.
this picture?
No, it is forked. Yeah.
It is a forked flag, so it's
a
like a
forked
banner.
flag. It's like a little banner, yeah.
That is an interesting design feature. Like
It is. It is. I like it.
we're gonna think outside of the box here. All of you guys have regular rectangular flags. We're going the forked flag.
Mm-hmm.
This is my military banner.
Yeah.
Stars are in a oddly patterned way too. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting flag.
The real Halsinator for $5 says, personally, based off no information and talking out of my ass, I think very little crime is based off poverty. Most crime is done for fun and sadism. I don't think, I disagree. I don't think it's done for fun and sadism. I think it's done for status and for resource acquisition.
Yeah.
So, though, I mean, obviously there's some level of just psychopaths who will do stuff for sadism purposes, but.
For drugs too, obviously.
Right. The real Halsinator for $2 says assault weapons, not assault rifles. Well, I mean, they're both made up categories, I guess, but yes, fair enough. Ace for $5 says a poll by Rasmussen reports shows that 66% of Americans want to investigate the BLM riots. So I think the public does care about them. I mean, that's good. I hope that's true. I think Rasmussen is very, very unreliable. But I hope that is accurate. So.
We're doing a poll on whether or not people want to investigate the BLM riots. If you're in favor of investigating those, please respond.
Well, all their polls skew very right-wingy. So that's why I'm just saying I don't know how accurate they are, but
right.
So I'd hope it's that. So I know support for BLM has dropped, but obviously BLM support and riots are a little bit different things. So. Red Toa for $5 says thoughts on Hasidic Jews. What does the normie Jewish community think of them? Are they a cult? Are they a little quirky? Have you met any? So I've never had any personal interaction with Hasidic Jews at all. Hasidic Jews are the guys you see with like the black coats and the big hats and the curls on the side.
I know. I was thinking about it. I'm like, don't you know Sitch has those curls? How dare you super
How dare you? But no, I've actually never interacted with a Hasidic Jew in my entire life. I mean, it looks silly. It looks silly to me.
Oh,
I don't know. I can only talk, from my own perspective. The whole thing seems kind of silly. So seems
sacrilege.
Goofy. Right. J-Mac, thanks so much for Circuit Father. J-Mac for $20 says, just got off the phone with the IRS. Quick, give me some more of that Sitch and Adam show luck. I'm gonna need it. Okay, here you go.
Oh no.
There you go. We're winding up. We're blasting out that Sitch and Adam luck, baby.
Are you getting audited? Oh,
I hope
please. Not. Oh, please.
Just challenge the IRS agent to a game of Magic.
Oh yeah. And get your best mill deck out.
No, stop. Then you're gonna get hit as hard as possible. Instant Sacks for $5 says, guys, JD Vance isn't racist. He runs a black deck. AD reigns supreme. There you go. I like it.
Wow.
Obviously, JD Vance should say that he runs the tricolor deck, red, white, and blue. Okay.
That's good.
JMac, thanks so much. A surrogate father, Daddy JMac, for the $20 says JD Vance is 100% a gruel aggro player. Trump plays 5-color Tron. Kamala plays mono green Timmy Stomp, and Walz plays Yu-Gi-Oh. Hilarious. Well,
that is a true Magic the Gathering fan there.
Oh yeah. No, JMac knows all about it. So I think, let me think. I might agree with this. That could be accurate. Though I don't know if I agree with Trump playing 5-color deck. I feel like Trump would just be, let me think. I'd have to think about that. That's an interesting question. Ace for $2 says Yu-Gi-Oh is greater than Magic the Gathering. Ugh, despicable. Disgusting, Ace. Disgusting. Liz and Deswall specifically for $2 says RDW for life. There you go. Knight Galahad for $2 says, I meant quitter. I trust Adam knows why.
Is it because she left halfway through her Senate term? I'm guessing. Maybe I don't know why.
Is it like a sex joke or something? I don't know.
Oh. Maybe.
Okay. Let's see, where was I? Size for $20. Thank you. Says, I listened to Curtis Yarvin on both the Intellectual Explorers podcast and Trigonometry. He espoused his support for Biden and has his bizarre reasoning for it. Didn't seem like trolling to me, but he is an odd duck. Really? I did listen to his trigonometry thing. I don't remember him talking about that, but I'll check it out. I guess it's possible, though it would be very strange to me that he would support Biden over Vance, who's like literally his friend. So that would be very bizarre to me. Alex S for $5 says, former California National Guard here. Besides my time in Iraq, the 1 week in a month felt like being the tampon of the military. That's terrible. Wow. Okay.
Get it because of the monthly thing?
I get it. I got it. Yeah. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
The Red Dawn Batman for $2 Canadian says, S-Class is the best class. There you go. Well, thank you.
I think there was 4 A teams and 3 S classes. So
wow.
But who's counting?
Wow.
So we gonna watch this thing just for a
Knight
few
says
minutes?
the affair in San Francisco. That's what he's talking about with her not being a quitter.
Oh.
There you go. Yeah, we can watch this.
So I had said that one of the distinctions between liberal and conservative is about preserving traditions and the stability of society. Liberals are about improving conditions for individual rights. I think a lot of people these days, they don't really think of it liberal and conservative that way. They think of liberal and conservative as these two teams that exist on the internet that you can join either team and be a part of and shit on other people. So I brought up how Christianity had taken over culture for a long period of time, and that was rather dogmatic, and other people made comments saying, Adam, you're crazy. Christianity was great. Conservative art is amazing. Liberals take over art and it's constantly destroyed. So
Degenerate.
Yeah, exactly. Hold on, I want to look at my notes here. I did say something when I first brought up this that I want to kind of take back. I did say this is like an ignorant reading, which I do think is ignorant, but I want to make sure that I'm not calling conservatives ignorant in general, because I think we need conservatives. I think conservatives serve a valuable social purpose. I think liberals and and progressives serve a valuable social purpose as well. Obviously, sometimes liberals and progressives can push too far. They can push for change that actually threatens society. I think conservatives can sometimes be too dogmatic and stop change where change would actually be a good thing. And especially in the case that I'm talking about art, you know, maybe you don't want art to be stagnant for 100 years. Maybe art should be a little more dynamic. So, and of course, when art gets dynamic, you could get mistakes like House of the Dragon, you know, but sometimes you get a Pulp Fiction. So let's listen to this, them talking about the difference between liberal and conservative, and then Sitch can weigh in as well.
On that front. So the liberal paradigm is a universalizing paradigm. That is to say, human rights is universally applicable. That is the sort of standard yardstick. That's the standard manifesto for liberal morality.
So this guy is the conservative in the debate, and he's espousing the conservative position. We'll listen to him talk a bit, and then Stephen Hicks's response. It's probably about like 5 minutes.
And yet, when we press the liberal on what is this moral standard, and the liberal says, well, we all agree on this, we all have to agree on this, you realize that it's impossible without surrendering freedom of thought, without surrendering the freedom to choose what will always be rival and conflicting conceptions of the good. John Rawls, by far and away the most influential liberal, political liberal of the last 50 years, devises this thought experiment. Liberals are always devising thought experiments precisely because they want to abstract away from particular contingent concrete circumstances to imagine this kind of universal, timeless utopia that's applicable to all times and to all places. And in this thought experiment, he says, well, in order to pull this off, in order to imagine a maximally just society, we have to bracket, quote, our comprehensive metaphysical commitments. Now, what lies within that phrase? Everything, not just the God stuff, what we are as human beings, conceptions of human nature, what makes us free, what our worth consists in. These are inevitably contentious philosophical questions that are never going to command universal agreement. The only reason there's an illusion of agreement that emerges at the 18th century is precisely because there's been a settled intellectual, social, and cultural pattern from Plato and Aristotle all the way through late antiquity, the high Middle Ages, and emerging into fruition, yes, with big political breaks like the Reformation in the 16th century and the French Revolution in the 18th century, but those are kind of optical illusions. Those revolutions lead us to believe, and especially the way history is taught in the textbooks, you've got the Enlightenment. Well, what comes before the Enlightenment? Darkness. What comes before Renaissance? Death. And so there's this sort of, as I said, there's a kind of there's a mythology to liberalism that thinks.
I love Stephen Hicks' body language here because he's just like, oh, this is such bullshit. All of this is such bullshit.
That it all starts with a break. And I say it's not. It's the fruits of the very order that conservatives seek to preserve.
So he's basically saying that the liberalism is kind of the conservative tradition.
Well, I think his argument here is retarded. And I'll say the reason for that is because every philosophy has an idea that its philosophy is the correct philosophy.
Yep.
And that everyone would be better off if they followed the philosophy. Now, that doesn't mean that every philosophy is authoritarian. It doesn't mean every philosophy is like going to conquer all of its neighbors and enforce it. But every philosophy believes that its philosophy is the correct one. And just by human nature, it's easier for countries to have stable relationships with each other if they follow the same philosophical, like moral belief system. So like his argument here, which I've heard very often be an argument or a critique of liberalism as a philosophy, is like this weird, and I think completely nonsensical argument that like, oh, you know, if you're a liberal country, you basically have to constantly get involved in other people's foreign affairs because you believe in human rights and blah, 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 blah. And none of that's really true. I think to me, that's a complete misread of how politics in the real world works. Basically, the way it works is that if you have a government who, for some reason, is motivated to want to be involved in a foreign conflict, almost exclusively not for human rights reasons. It's almost exclusively for some kind of resource or power reason. They will use the human rights reason as just a pure justification to engage in the behavior. That's not the motivating factor. That's just a way to get the public on board. And if you have a country that doesn't have liberal values like Russia, well, they don't need that. They can just say like, well, we should just invade Ukraine and then they'll make up their own reasons to do it. Right. So it's a completely like nonsensical argument to me. And a dumb argument to me.
Nice. I like what you said about the moral system wanting to basically making the declaration that this is the best moral system and so you should adopt it. Whether or not people are forced to adopt it or adopt it through carrots over sticks. I mean, that's a big component of it. Like a lot of these moral philosophies that do tend towards authoritarianism, they're like, look, no, we're going to beat you into submission. Our moral system's the best. You have to adopt it. I would say like liberalism is a philosophy, but it is kind of the philosophy that there will be these competing moral systems or moral philosophies. And the best one wins, and the best one wins through kind of the non-aggression principle, the not using force, only using carrots and not accepting authoritarian rule to implement your moral system.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And also, like related to that, and another thing when he said, which I think is completely ridiculous, is if we're to like look at all these philosophies, liberalism is probably far more permissive of a live and let live philosophy with other people and its neighbors. And so for him to cast it as like this authoritarian thing that has to go around the world, stamping out other philosophies, that's completely not accurate at all.
Well, that's the way they feel about it.
Right. But that's just because their philosophies are just shit, I guess, for the most part. And liberalism is just very popular. So of course they look at it like that.
Yeah. I do see a lot of people who like they adopt the conservative label or the liberal label, but they don't really understand the values of that because they're playing team sports on the internet, which that's fine. Obviously. I'm not the type of person that says you have to identify this way or likes to label people, but I think the actual where these two categories come from, I find fascinating. So,
sure. I want to come back to conservatism in a second, but Stephen, a flurry of punches there. So come back on this. Well, particularly the idea that liberalism is interfering in things like marriage and changing the way that we do things.
So this is beautifully said, but three huge topics put out there, and I'm going to take just the first one. Well, yes,
I started it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so but let's take this first one about the liberal mythos, that somehow in the Enlightenment there's this radical break with the past, and suddenly liberalism, we're all free, autonomous self. Right, that is a conservative myth about liberalism. There are no liberals. Now, John Rawls is a disaster. We'll come back to him in a moment.
Just to be clear, when they're having this conversation about liberalism versus conservatism, we're talking about liberal small L's here. So we're small L, small C. So we're talking about liberalism as a philosophy that came out of the Enlightenment that is the foundation that America was founded on, that both Democrats and Republicans are liberal philosophies, and conservatism, it would be, I don't even know what would be an example.
Traditional,
but I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example of I don't know an example of a country that we would say is like a quote conservative, an anti-liberal conservative country. So
I mean, Russia is. I mean, this is why a lot of the conservatives are throwing their lot in with Russia, because they see Russian as like a traditional conservative society.
So I'm hesitant to say Russia because you're correct, but it's like a lie. Like there's this super weird LARP that goes on the internet where people pretend Russia's a conservative country, but it's not. When you look at number one, the government structure is not at all conservative. It's like this weird, like very highly elite oligarch that came out of the 90s. And then the stats, the far less churchgoers, far more abortions in America, all this other stuff. So
right. Yeah.
Guy. He is not. He is the opposite of my guy. Anyway, but that's the third topic that you are putting out there. every single important liberal in the tradition, right? And liberalism does have its tradition. Will say, look, by the time we get to the Enlightenment, you are exactly right. The founding fathers of the United States are saying, no, we have to go back to Greece. We have to go back to Rome. There are certain long political traditions. At the same time, they are very well aware, if we are interested in religious freedom, for example, the First Amendment, I know we're in Britain, but I'm going to use this American example. In the Bill of Rights, in the First Amendment, the very first thing is freedom of religion. And it's very clear that this comes out of already 2 centuries of battles over religious freedom, religious toleration, and so forth. The more broad-ranging intellectual freedoms in the sciences, for example, it's already 2 to 3 centuries of debates over whether we should be intellectually free in the sciences or not. To extend to artistic freedom, are we going to censor the theaters, or are we going to allow literary people to do whatever? Already going back to the Renaissance, we have now more than 2 centuries, we have 3 to 4 centuries of debates and hard-fought battles. So what we have then is a multi-front battle with respect to the arts, with respect to the sciences, with respect to religion, with respect to all of the civil freedoms. And so, yes, absolutely, the Enlightenment is a capstone. And then there's a kind of aha moment that many intellectuals are reaching in the 1700s. After we fought all of these particular battles, now we are in a position to generalize and say, it's not just artistic freedom or religious freedom or scientific freedom or freedom to go into whatever kind of business you want. Yes, we are going to generalize to these universal principles. So the myth is, and this is often a conservative reading, that somehow we're springing de novo into existence. I don't think that's a proper reading of liberal. The liberals are proud of their history. Now, to turn the tables a little bit, if we then say the liberals want to say in the social order, there are going to be lots of values that are contested on an...
Okay, just before he says this, I just want to get your feedback on the history of the tradition. It's like the individuals who are like, society is too constricting. I want to be free. I want to do what I want to do, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the liberals that are fighting against the conservative order, who is like, put your head down. This is how society works. Everything is great. Everything is functional now. Don't dream. That seems like a pretty good split, right?
Sure.
Does that seem accurate?
Like if we're going to make it in a very generalized way, sure, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, when like specifically in the comments, response to my saying, it was in the Christian art movement, it was the conservatives that were saying, no, art stays where it is. Don't change. Like, you don't get to the Renaissance. Like, conservatives are literally trying to prevent the Renaissance. So this argument that they're making, that conservatives came up with the Renaissance and art was amazing, and now we have social justice warriors doing Star Wars The Acolyte, and it sucks. I mean, you're not really thinking about this conceptually correctly here. Like, yes, the liberal progressives, the people who are like, I'm bored, let's do something different. They'll try something like The Acolyte, and it will fail miserably because they've done something wrong. But every once in a while, what they've done will succeed, and it'll be different, and it'll form a completely different tradition that will say, okay, well, we need to conserve this tradition. This thing that we tried worked.
Well, it's interesting because the Renaissance art period, I thought, was sort of like maybe you want to call it like an enlightened centrist art period, because my understanding was that it was a combination of like people engaged in a classical learned art style, but with a focus on individualism beyond just religion. Right. So it's kind of like doing both of these things together.
Well, I think all of the way history functions is kind of pulling some from tradition and kind of changing it a little bit.
A little bit, yes. Yeah. Iterating on it. Yeah.
There is a cultural evolution aspect to what's going on. It's very difficult to build something just out of nothing, right?
Of course. Yeah. It's not possible.
A lot of times these new traditions, there's a piece of the old tradition and the little spin on it that makes it work better.
Right. So I guess the issue is, like, usually when people think of modern art or postmodern, whatever the fuck whatever we're in now, it's just art has become in certain circles so up its own ass and trash that's what people like. They have like a stereotype in their mind of what they're thinking of.
But this is why I made the comments that I made, because my argument was art has become taken over by a dogmatism that every single vocation in the world must serve this progressive dogma of equity. Everything must be about race and sexual orientation and activism and fighting bigotry. And I'm saying that ideology is basically like a religion that has taken over art. And my argument is this is why art sucks, because art is no longer about trying new things and going in new directions and seeing what happens. It's about, let's take this institution and basically use it to forward the progressive religion. So that was basically my argument.
I agree with all that. Well, especially I agree with that in terms of like media, in terms of like movies and TV shows and things.
Well, and academia, right?
Right, in academia. But if we're talking about like art in terms of like paintings, things you see in an art museum, things like that, like I'm sure that's all very woke and progressive nowadays.
It is very much so. Yeah, it's not so far from beautiful.
Right. But it seems to now I'm not an art history guy, so I'm just I could be tying my ass here. But my intuition is like basically what happened was, and I don't know why this happened, but you sort of had a situation where a lot of art somewhere in the last 100 years or so, it became very insular in terms of there was this, it was too change oriented. It was too like, oh, well, people drew these great paintings in the Renaissance and post-Renaissance and all these other stuff, but we need to do something different. That's all boring. We've seen all that before. We've seen as many great paintings of, people doing things that are possible. So now we're going to do all like the weird shit, right? The weird, all the colors on the canvas that look like, a baby vomited on a blank page or something. Like, it seems to me to be this like completely self-involved, like just change for change's sake. Like I'm just, I like mentality that kind of consumed a lot of the modern art period.
Yeah, look, and I'm not a fan of modern art at all.
Right.
So, but I do understand the appeal of modern art as like.
Well, to be clear, when I'm saying modern, I mean like modern art today. I don't mean the official designated period of modern art from like the early 1900s.
Okay.
Is what I'm talking about.
So you're really talking about postmodern art.
Whatever. So yeah, I don't know. Whatever we're talking about.
We're technically in the postmodern period as far as art goes.
So. Sure. Because obviously, I mean, there was, Van Gogh was modern art, which was very
of course,
good,
yes, yeah.
Melting Clock Sky, was that postmodern or modern art? I don't know.
Surrealism was definitely modern. Yeah.
Yeah, I like his, I like Dali's stuff. It was very cool. So.
But like a canvas with one color on it, like.
Yes, all that shit is like just trash. Yeah.
Myth is, and this is often a conservative reading, that somehow we're springing de novo into existence. I don't think that's a proper reading of liberal. The liberals are proud of their history. Now, to turn the tables a little bit, if we then say the liberals want to say in the social order, there are going to be lots of values that are contested on and there's going to be a great deal of evolution that goes on. Where the liberals are insisting that liberty comes first is in one area and one area only. That is in the political area. When we are talking about families, when we're talking about other institutions, people might have different orders of what their values are. And we might have contending values in those social. But when we are talking about politics, specifically, when we are talking about government, we have to be very, very clear, because government is in every single society, an instrument of compulsion. It makes its rules. All other social institutions, of course, have rules, but those are rules that are flexible. You can opt in and out of business, opt in and out of a church, opt in and out of playing this or that sport. So they all have their rules, but those are particular rules for those institutions, and people voluntarily sign on to them. When we're talking about governments, we are talking about a different kind of animal. Right? And it's an 800-pound gorilla animal that says our rules are going to apply to everybody in the society. And our rules, if you break one of these rules, the police are going to come to you. We will put you in jail if we find that you are wrong. And we have these rules with respect to foreign people, protecting our people. You come here, we will use our military. So when we are talking about the moral order, right? The liberals are insistent the purpose of government, all of the universal rules and the willingness to use force against anybody, it has to be only with reference to the protection of individual liberties. That's where the insistence comes in. That's where the enforcement comes in. Now against that, right, what I read from Professor Orr and other conservatives, now conservatism, of course, is a big tent, so I'm going to try to tailor it as much as possible to yours, is to say, well, we can't do that because we have to have a prior kind of order, right, within which individuals come into existence. And that order has hierarchical elements, and it has traditions. And so we have order, tradition, hierarchy. And those are going to be values that trump liberty in many cases, including in political cases. And that's where the liberal gets worried.
He cuts straight to the heart of the issue here, where it's like the individual freedom versus the oppression of society. This talk is really great. So we won't go much further.
Right, because then we want to say, well, there are good orders and there are bad orders. There are good hierarchies and there are bad hierarchies. How are we going to sort those out? You do need a principle a moral principle to sort out all of those values. You can't just start with all of those. And if we then go back to the history, and this is why I think the conservative myth about the liberal history is important. We say over the course of the centuries, when all of these hard-fought battles are being won, they are being won by the liberals. They are not being won by the conservatives. In every single generation, we go to the late 1400s and we say, we need, this is the generation of Michelangelo, Leonardo a little earlier, and so on. The artists are saying, we need artistic freedom. And it is precisely conservatives, right, of that era that are saying, no, order and tradition, that is stifling the liberal developments there. In the next century, when we're talking about religious freedom, it's the liberals of that generation saying, no, individuals need to take charge of their own conscience, get the state out of it, and so forth. And it is precisely the people of order, tradition, and hierarchy who are stifling that development of individual liberty. In the case of science, when the scientists like Galileo are saying, stop torturing scientists, start using intimidation. We need to be free-thinking and liberal in this intellectual zone. It's precisely the conservatives of that era saying no, order and tradition and hierarchy and so forth. So I think the right way to read this history is that what has happened is that the liberals are in all of these areas the ones who are fighting the battle, making the progress. It's the conservatives who are reactionary in varying degrees. Some of them are just saying no and using force, compulsion to stop the advance of those ones. But then the more reasonable conservatives, typically once the battle has been won by the liberals, they accommodate. And they say, okay, now we will fold this into the tradition, but it is now a liberal conservatism, right? Where the liberals did all the work, the conservatives accommodate that after, and then you get to what I think of as more reasonable conservatives in the later modern world.
James.
All right, we're way over, so
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like Stephen Hicks a lot. Whenever he talks, he's very interesting. I think I read one of his books. It was the
Nietzsche and the Nazis, which is an amazing book. It's someone uploaded it on YouTube, so if you want to check it out, it's a great read. Yeah, super fascinating.
But I think sometimes it can take a little long to get to the
point
where you're trying to go. Yeah, but it's true. Obviously, it's an interesting point with the all the quote traditional Renaissance art that people talk about as being this conservative thing. At the time period that it was being crafted, it was not seen as conservative. It was seen as quote progressive or different of what came before it. So that's always kind of the way this story goes.
Yeah, conservatives are like, change is a dangerous thing. That's the conservative mindset. Right. Yeah. And the liberal mindset is, I'm bored. I'm bored. I need something new.
Right. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's good talk. I hope they talk again, because in that talk, and I'd recommend everyone watch it on Trigonometry channel. Is very interesting. The only issue with it is that they spend most of the talk, the overwhelming majority of the talk, kind of dealing with his critiques, the other guy's critiques, or his critiques of liberalism. There's very little of the conversation is about a positive argument for conservatism. So
right,
hopefully they'll come back for round 2 and they can kind of focus on that.
Yeah, we need conservatives because we do need, obviously we need order and stability in society. You can't accomplish anything without order and stability, right? Security allows you the comfort of doing art and movies and like all kinds of things that are valuable. Yeah.
No, of course, but like even in this conversation, what exactly does he mean by conservatism is kind of elusive. So,
right.
So anyway,
do we have did any more super chats come up or are we done?
Yes. Percival Fine for $5 says should replace the California flag with a 2-headed bear version from Fallout and the Florida flag with the pistol grip version from Metalocalypse.
That would be so badass.
That'd be super badass, yeah.
I'm game.
Oh, that's hilarious. I don't remember that. Brian for $10. Thanks so much. Says this guy's talking about conservative from a European standpoint. Conservatives in America are liberal, and I think the reason why the only reason why we are different than Europe. Yes. He is talking about it from a more European perspective.
And conservatism, yes, in America is far more invested in individual rights and individual freedoms, which is great. I mean, that's kind of our American tradition.
Yeah, because since America was kind of founded on liberalism and like libertarian values, that kind of European conservatism, it exists, but it's so not a movement in America, at least at the moment. So, Mr. Bruff for £5 says, Sitch, do you think Comparator died whilst covering his family, or was he filming? This is in regards to Destiny's take on it that Dev replied to on X. Yeah, so this came up. This was kind of interesting, and I replied to it with a video, though I don't know if you want to bring it up. I guess it's not that important. I'll just say
we can bring it up if you want. I don't know your schedule. I'm working on the comic, but I'll probably.
Well, I don't know if we can.
Like
I don't want to get hit with. I don't want to get. I mean, it's a video that takes place during the Trump assassination attempt.
So okay, violence. Yeah.
So I don't know what's gonna. But anyway, so basically, Destiny made a comment. So there's this thing that goes around that when they talk about Comparator, that was the firefighter that died when Trump was shot at, and a lot of people were saying that he died protecting his family, that he like shielded his child, and that's how he died. And Destiny made a comment about how I don't remember exactly what Destiny said, but he made some comment about how that's not true, that he died filming like a dumbass, and that he should have, something like that, and he should have got down. And so Dev on Twitter was like, where is this? What does this come from? Where is the source of this? And so the source of this is there's a video that you can find that I actually tweeted. And I guess if you go through my replies, you'll find it. And what this comes from is that there's a video where you can see the Trump rally, and you hear the first. So if you didn't watch the video, the way it works is that the shooter, Crooks fires like 3 or 4 shots in one volley. There's like a 2 to 3 second pause, and then he fires like another 4 shots. And 2 of the people that got shot, the firefighter and one of the guys that got shot but didn't die, they both got hit specifically in the second volley. The first guy that got shot, I believe, got hit with the first or second shot in the first volley. Trump got shot and hit in the first or second volley. I mean, the first or second shot in the first volley. These other guys got hit in the second volley. In the video, what you see is that during the first volley, Comparator, he's like filming Trump, and the shots go off, and he doesn't like seem to react or change or do anything. So I don't even know if he realized what was happening. He's standing there and he's like holding his phone up. The shots go off, you see people kind of turn and look around in the foreground, but not him. And then the camera kind of like moves so you can't see him at all. You can't really see what he's doing. And then the second round of shots go off, and you can kind of see a hat that people think is his hat kind of flying off forward as he got shot. So my take on this is that we don't know at all whether he was standing there filming when he got shot or whether he jumped on top of his child, unless there's forensic evidence that shows like the angle or something, which maybe there is. But based on the video evidence, you can't really tell what his action was at the moment. So that's my take on it.
Right.
We don't know.
Ugh. Still like a complete disgusting thing to say, because it's really just pissing all over the grave of a dead man.
Yeah, to me, it's like, that's a good point. It's like, I don't really care. Like, who cares? Does it really matter one way or the other? So,
yeah. Like, if you're going to take politics to the level of pissing all over victims, it's like, okay.
Right.
Too far. And then to do it and make the argument that like, oh, well, some other person did it too, so this is where we're at. Okay.
Right.
Looks, I think we should turn around. I think we've gone too far down this dead end road already.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know what happened with the firefighter guy unless they have forensic evidence that shows like the angle of the bullet. But regarding the second person who didn't die but did get shot in the second volley, and you can kind of see clearly, it is a good lesson that when you hear gunfire, you should get down. Because at least because again, I don't know about with the guy who died, but the second guy who got shot and survived, if he got down, he probably wouldn't have got shot. So you hear gunfire, you should get down. That's the lesson.
I think people instinctively know to get down when they hear gunfire. I don't think people always know it is gunfire. Like, a lot of times people will think, oh, that's fireworks. Or,
right.
Yeah.
No,
you live in
that's
such
true.
a safe environment. It's hard for people to even imagine someone shooting in this direction.
It's true.
Yeah.
No, it's true. But if you see everyone dropping, if you see everyone dropping, you hear something pop sounds, you see everyone around you dropping, you should probably drop too. So
right.
That's the lesson. Ace for $2 says, Yo, why the hate for Rawl? Rawl is pretty good.
Pretty great.
Pretty great.
Someone likes Rawls. So
I don't know enough about Rawls either way, so
I don't either. But he's a disaster.
There you go. Aussie ODST for $5 says, modern art is a CIA psyop, fat electrician to video on it. Y'all are good people. Keep it up. Well, thank you. And actually, I have seen that video. That was about, or it was whatever, postmodern art, contemporary art, was some weird CIA psyop. I have seen that. I don't know if it was that video, but I have seen that idea knocked around. So
I'll check it out.
Somewhat legitimate. It is pretty crazy. It was like they were trying to compete with the communists, because the communists were saying like, oh, look how much art we can come up with. We're so cool. And the CIA was like, well, we need to have like American modern art that's like unique and different to compete with the new communist art. So Brian for $20. Thank you, Brian. Says, he just basically said that conservatives don't bring anything of value and liberals do all the work to push us forward. A very interesting framing that puts his own views as the only driver on how to move forward.
Well, I mean, it's true though.
In terms of moving forward, that would be true. It's the quote liberalism that is pushing, the left is like pushing forward and the right is, trying to pull the reins back. And you need the change and the maintaining of things that work and the change of things that don't work, kind of push and pull to move us in a good direction. So
sometimes conservatives are right though. Sometimes, like, prohibition is the example that I'm always going to, right? Prohibition made society tangibly worse, and it was conservatives that were pushing back against that. So conservatives are pushing back against the change, but sometimes the change that liberals and look, people on the left are always guilty because they have survivor's bias. They say, we're always winning, exactly the way that he framed it. We're always on the the right side of history. Well, no, sometimes you're on the wrong side of history, and conservatives push back against it, and you lose those gains, and nobody remembers it because it's like prohibition, right?
Right.
Then prohibition is suddenly reframed as, oh my God, it was the conservatives who were pushing for it and failed, right? When really it was the progressive pushing for it and failed.
That's true. Oh, so this is interesting. Dan Irish sent this to me on Twitter. Apparently last night they actually had the virtual roll call ready. It just hasn't been, quote, certified yet. So they've already voted that Kamala is the nomination last night.
Here it is.
Oh, there you go.
Why it's impossible. She's so ahead. Now she's even ahead of Trump in the polls. So there's no reason to stand in her way at this point. There's no logical argument not to confirm her. And you're exactly right, Sitch. This is why she's keeping her mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I don't want to risk anything.
Just, smart. It's like,
wait,
in case it comes out, and everyone goes, "Oh, she's a retard. We need to quickly, scramble around."
Wait till we got that nomination in the car. And then I'll talk.
Right. Libertarian Sasquatch for $5. Thank you. Says, I truly believe modern liberals have a real blind spot towards unintended consequences. They seemingly want to change for the sake of change. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably true of the left in general. Because if you're just pushing for change, obviously there's, change is always going to lead to some kind of unintended consequences. So
it's totally true, but at the same time, I mean, evolution is a blind process. It's based on random mutation. I mean, we've got to be doing somewhat better than random, right? Just in the fact that people are actually contemplating the future ramifications of what they're doing.
You shouldn't say evolution is a blind process, because it's not. The random mutation element is a blind process, but then how the traits get selected for is not blind.
Because the environment does the selecting, but it's the exact same thing in the liberal conservative realm.
Exactly, right.
The change either ends up being harmful for society or helpful for society. Right. And if it's harmful, then it's usually taken back. If it's not, then I can already hear like the conservative argument. Adam, there's plenty of harmful stuff that liberals have done that is damn near destroying society, right?
Of course.
Sometimes I just think that's bias, though.
There's plenty of things that the left has done. That's
really...
No, not gay marriage is not one of them. There's plenty of things the left has done that has been very damaging to society. There's plenty of things the right has done that's very damaging for society. So it's just this, and you do need to have the continual push and pull. Right now, I believe that the left has too much power, and thus has gone, at least the power in the mainstream culturally. So it's gone a little crazy with all the woke shit, the communist shit. So. But there'll be a correction.
Communism always destroys society. It's funny that they continually try it over and over again.
Right.
There are some conservatives that think gay marriage has destroyed society, and it drives me crazy because it just seems so disconnected from reality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, leave the gay people alone. They want to get married. If you guys want to bitch about the over sexualization at Pride, like, I'm right there with you. Okay. We don't need that to be, and I think a lot of gay people don't necessarily like that to be the representation of the gay community. It's kind of like if porn stars represented the heterosexual community. It's like, please make it stop. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to say something.
I forgot what I was going to say. Don't worry about it.
Got to take a note.
Brian for $10 says liberals push and conservatives slow down. Only by comparison, American conservatism is liberalism with brakes.
Yes, and I like that saying. A lot of people do say that.
Ace for $5 says Destiny fails to see why left firebrand and not right ones are hated. This is because people prefer the status quo, even if it's bad, over change. Not everyone, but a lot of people. Yeah, well, definitely. There's the left is kind of blind to fears of barbarism, and thus are a lot more the left is also kind of blind to fears of upsetting stability. I think.
Of course. Yeah.
So, by its nature. So.
I feel that. And it's the recent rhetoric of Destiny kind of plays right into that. Like I feel it in my bones that's
right.
Well,
he's so activated by the Trump stuff. So.
Yeah, but do we really want people murdering one another in the streets?
Of course not. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that would be good for society, but.
Jay for 25 months says mutations aren't a blind process either. Specific genes are conserved, which makes them less prone to mutation. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's part of the environment. All right. This was great.
This is great. Thanks for coming. Thanks for your very generous donations today. And I guess we'll see you all tomorrow on How to Kill a Franchise channel.
Okay.
House of the Dragon.
I can't wait. Lots of cringe. Bye-bye.